Welcome to WebSleuths YouTube Live. My name is Trisha Griffith. I got to tell you, and I tell you every time we do a live stream, I am the luckiest person in the world because not only do I have a wonderful family, wonderful friends, I have my health, knock on wood, I have a roof over my head, I have food in my house, I have, hold on one second here, guys. I am getting a, what you call it? There we go. Getting a echo. Echo, echo, echo. Here we go. Okay. Well, I got everything I need. Plus, when I get up in the morning, I get to go to work as the manager of WebsleuthsCom. This is the greatest true crime discussion forum ever. It's just ever been made. There's never been one better. And it's been around for over 25 years. We have a great JonBenet Ramsey forum on WebsleuthsCom, and we'll put a link up to that. But tonight, it is 29 years ago that JonBenet Ramsey was killed. Some say she was murdered. Some say it was planned. Some say an intruder did it. Some say it was an accident. We don't know. But tonight, my darling true crime angels, I can promise you that we're going to show you two things that by the end of the evening, if you look at our evidence and you look at it logically, you'll see there was no intruder and that Patsy wrote the note. That's as much as we can do, because after that, yeah, there's some evidence of certain things, but boy, it's just hard to tell. But here's the thing. If we can get the mainstream media back to talking about the actual facts of the case instead of like Ashley Banfield, see, I'm saying that name, I'm saying it calmly, instead of Ashley Banfield doing things like saying the Boulder police have apologized to John Ramsey and they've cleared him, and none of that is true. If we can get the mainstream media back on track and away from John Ramsey's narrative, which in my opinion is just full of baloney, then we can maybe start working on the other aspects of the case. But let's just stick to there was no intruder and Patsy wrote the note. See, it's all about perception, okay? A lot of times people have bizarre perceptions of things. Like, here's an example. I got this letter last night. Okay, are you ready for this? Now, this is from somebody. First of all, this person didn't realize they were emailing me, I don't think. I think they thought they were emailing the, big corporate management office with 30 employees handling web sleuths, which isn't the case. But they didn't think they were emailing me. But here's what they said from Tater Baby 112. Hello. Many people have noticed that Trisha's lost weight. Some have said Trisha has had a nose job and plastic surgery. And plastic surgery on her face. It's very important, on her face. Is this true? Tater Baby 112, you're so smart. How did you know? How did you know? I hit it so well, I thought. But okay, I'm gonna do a before picture, and you're gonna be shocked because I don't think people really saw how much my face has changed. I did it over a weekend. I was able to heal within 48 hours. And let me get it here for you, okay? Now, this is my before picture, and you'll probably recognize this. You'll go, oh, yeah, I remember when Trisha looked like that. Of course. Of course. See? That's my before picture. And then here's what I look like after. Quite a difference, huh? My point is, for some reason, yes, I have lost weight, and I've talked about that, and I'm feeling very healthy, and life is good, but no, I haven't had plastic surgery. If I had, I'd tell you about it. Well, I'd be up here with the bandages and getting all kinds of sympathy from you. I'd just be the biggest, whiniest baby ever if I'd have been in the hospital or been in a doctor's office and had a nose job or anything. No, 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 no. It's just losing weight. And I'm lucky. My mom had really good skin, and I'm very lucky. How old am I? God, I've just turned 67. Yeah, and I'm lucky that it still kind of got its elasticity. But again, it's the perception. Somebody sees that I look different, and automatically, boom, I've had plastic surgery. Well, that is what happens in the Ramsey case. They hear one little thing, and boom, they assume, oh, it's got to be an intruder. No. In fact, there's somebody out there now, I don't even want to say his name, but he is claiming that they're close to making an arrest. And everybody, I guess it's on Facebook, and everybody on his Facebook page is going, yeah, Yeah, you're right. And he gives all these reasons, and it's ridiculous. There will be no arrest in this case. Okay. There's no intruder. All right. Patsy wrote the note, in my opinion. This guy is going to be proven wrong again, and we've proven him wrong over and over. He never acknowledges it. But then again, if I said his name, you wouldn't even know who he was. So, but I would like to say, I'm sure he's watching. And I would like to say, if there isn't an arrest soon, will you admit you were wrong? I don't think you will. Now, before we get going on the JonBenet Ramsey case, there is one thing I want to talk to you about really quickly. All right. Let me get my notes here. On Monday, we have a very, very special guest, Detective Ashley Sanchez. Now, Detective Sanchez is the fresh eyes on the case of the Juanita Francisco case. Now, Juanita was killed in 2010 at her family's bakery, at her bakery, her and her husband's bakery. Now, what's so frustrating about this case is the fact that they have the killer's DNA. So talk about DNA. They really do have the killer's DNA in this case. They've got it, but they just need the money to do the test. And it's done by DNA Solves Othram, and it's one of those really, big complicated cases, tests, I should say, where they have to get, because this guy's DNA is not in any database that they have found. So they have to do the special testing that they do to find this guy's relatives and then work their way up to finding him. And they can do it. They've got plenty of DNA, but they just need the money. So let me show you this picture. And we'll be checking in all night long to see how donations are going, because we're so close. We're almost to 5,000 and we need $7,500. See, we're almost to 5,000. Okay, now here's the link, and it's pinned at the top of chat as well. Even if you donate $1, just $1, all through the night, everybody donated $1, we could get this up really high. And then remember, on Monday, Detective Sanchez will be here to talk more about Juanita's case. Okay? Okay. Let me bring up our guest. Well, let me bring up the one, the only. We call her the insightful one. Stacy, how are you? Stacy, you remember when I looked like that old picture I showed, don't you?
Oh,
When I looked
yeah,
that bad? Yeah, it was bad.
definitely. I was trying to convince you, then that you needed
I,
help, but,
and I kept saying, no, I am who I am.
yeah.
I'm gonna keep my teeth like that, my nose, it's all staying.
Oh,
Anyway, tonight's a big night because we do this every year. We go over the information in the JonBenet Ramsey case, and it's especially needed after what Ashley Banfield did with John Ramsey the other night. I'm not going to play it again, but she went on and gave us a little speech that says, "Do your research, people. John Ramsey has been cleared by the Boulder Police Department. John Ramsey, they apologized to John Ramsey. The Boulder Police apologized." None of that is true. Absolutely none of that. We think she was mistakenly thinking of a letter, a ridiculous letter that, according to the next DA that came in after her, Mary Lacey wrote a letter saying that the Ramseys were innocent and she apologized to them. Okay, that's from the district attorney. District attorney, Boulder Police. District attorney, Boulder Police. Two separate entities. Okay. And when she wrote that letter back in, I think it was 2008, nobody believed it. Nobody bought it. It was a joke. And Stacy, I want you to talk a little bit more about it because this is really frustrating to you too, right?
Yeah, well, you basically kind of said what I was going to point out,
Oh, I'm
which is,
sorry, but go ahead. Point it
which
out
is
again.
because people keep saying, because what was said on the news program was the police cleared him, and that's it. It wasn't the police that wrote that letter. It was Mary Lacey, which that's a whole other story, that we'll go into. But for some reason, people keep saying the person on the news program was accurate, but that was a complete misstatement. She said
Exactly.
police, not the DA.
And when she said that he'd been cleared, he has not been cleared. He hasn't been cleared by the DA's office. He hasn't been
Right.
cleared by the police. Okay. Nobody, no, John Ramsey has not been cleared. None of the Ramseys have been officially cleared. Now,
Right. That
I'll tell
letter
you.
was written, but
Go
it
ahead.
has no legal standing. And when the written, from what I understand, when the letter was written at the time, the DA that wrote it misunderstood testing results, etc. She didn't quite know what she was doing.
Exactly. She based her exoneration on the DNA, and you're right. And we'll talk about that. She misunderstood the DNA results, and she actually lied about them too. And it's just a joke. It, like you said, Stacy, it has no legal standing. The next DA after Mary Lacey came in and said, forget it, it's stupid. So to use that, you notice even John Ramsey doesn't use it. I mean, if that
Yeah,
was a
right.
legit thing, Stacy, he'd start out every show. By the way, I've been cleared. Here's the
Yep,
letter. You know,
exactly.
you never
Yeah,
hear him talk about it because he knows. He knows it's not legit. He knows it doesn't
yeah.
mean anything and it's worthless. So, but we're going to get into that a little bit later on. And if you do have questions in chat, feel free to put them in there. And I would encourage our guests to read chat as we go along and answer them in chat if you can, or
Mhm.
just talk about them here, whichever is more convenient. And somebody just said, and I apologize because it went by so fast, but somebody said, Trisha, do you think the Ramsey case will ever be solved? Um, if you say so. I think the only possibility of it being solved is if John Ramsey, for some reason, grows a conscience and decides to tell us what happened, or if Burke Ramsey talks. Now, again, I don't know who killed JonBenet. I think it was an accident. I don't know what happened, but one of those two people can tell us what happened. That's the only way it'll get solved, in my opinion. So that's a great question, though. Okay, let's bring up the one, the only Cottonstar. How are you, my darling? Now, these two gentlemen I'm bringing up, they are, Stacy, they are geniuses. I mean,
Yes.
Cynic, you're Cynic. Hello, Cynic.
Hey there.
Cynic and Cottonstar, and we've talked about them before. We annoy the hell out of them, Stacy and I,
Yep.
because we'll text them and go, okay, we need this, and it's some random weird ass thing, and boom, they both come back. They've got the page number of the book. It's their knowledge of this case is phenomenal, and we couldn't do this without them. Cottonstar, do you have anything to say before we get started?
Well, Merry Christmas, and I hope everyone had a good one. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be quite an episode. Going back to the beginning, like you said, so only really giving out like what really happened, starting from the beginning.
It's exactly what we're going to do. And Cynic, do you have anything to say before we get started?
Well, I'll agree with Cottonstar and his comments. It's all we can do is whittle away at some of the misinformation that's gone out there, especially over the past, especially since about 2016, 2017 has kind of been a downhill sort of situation as far as the truth in the Ramsey case. So, all we can do is try to chip away at it and see where we get.
And that's what we're going to do tonight. And I do want to repeat one thing that I told everybody. The night that Ashley Banfield said, do your research, the police have cleared John Ramsey and they've apologized to him, I wrote somebody very close to the case. And I said, did the police ever clear John Ramsey and apologize to him? And the person wrote back, that sounds like an acid mushroom overdose or no, let's see what's
I
LSD
remember.
mushroom hangover is what they said. And I said, yeah, I think that's probably what it was. So there you go. Yeah, total hallucinations there. Okay, we're going to start with the night at the Whites. Okay, now we're going to put up as many links as we can, but a lot of times we're just going to refer to pages in books. And so you really do need to get the books. You need to get James Kohler's book, A Foreign Faction, Who Kidnapped JonBenet. And if you, for some reason, can't afford it, email me, websleuthsvideos@gmail.com. I'll get you a copy somehow. Okay. And Steve Thomas's book is another one that we go to. Cynic helped write a book which has some amazing information in it. So we're going to put up as many links as we can to things, but on some of these things, like I said, we're just going to be reading from books or quoting from books. Okay. And if you think we're lying or that we're just making it up, you are welcome to go research it yourself. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning, which is December 25th. There was a Christmas party at the Whites, and the Whites were best friends of the Ramseys, and not anymore though. John Ramsey and Fleet White were together.
Hello. All right.
Oh, hi, you're there. Hello.
Sorry. I'm just checking my audio. Sorry.
Okay, there we go. That's much better now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So anyway, but John Ramsey and Fleet White were together when John discovered JonBenet. But I'll start with you, Cynic. Cynic, there was a party, and it's very important to state at this party that John, Patsy, and JonBenet and Burke were at the Whites. There was not pineapple. There wasn't any pineapple served, right, Cynic?
That's correct. As the records shows that it was cracked crab, I believe, that the JonBenet consumed as her final meal.
Okay.
Well, final meal at Fleet and Priscilla's house.
Right.
Subsequent to that, it's clear that she consumed pineapple.
Okay, and so that's an important fact to remember. Okay, they're coming home. They get out of the car. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and Cottonstar, I'll go to you, and if you're not sure, just let us know. John Ramsey carried JonBenet upstairs. Is that what he said?
Well, that is not what he originally said, and this is kind of one of my issues with this case, major issues with this case. Originally, on the morning of the 26th, John Ramsey told Officer French and or Detective Linda Art that when they got home that evening from the White Party around 10 p.m., he read a story to both Burke and JonBenet, that he read a story before they actually went to bed. Now, he stated that not only to Officer French, but also separately to Detective Linda Arndt. So that is a major change in story. The change in story occurred 4 months later in their first initial interviews on April 30th, 1997. And that is when the change in story occurred, and it changed to, well, when we got home from the party that night, JonBenet was asleep in the car, and I took her upstairs and laid her in bed and waited, and then left her there for Patsy to come and, change her, into her night clothes is what, the news story was. So, this is one of the only cases where, you talk about all the cases that I've worked before and have studied where the suspect in this case, or possible suspect in this case, is able to actually change his story and it actually get believed to be the authentic narrative, in the story. I mean, it from down the line. In fact, almost every single documentary you watch these days starts off with, JonBenet fell asleep in the car and John, brought her upstairs. It's an easy, convenient way, but it's not, what the original story was. So I don't, I've done that drive, continuing on with the story, on the way home, they stopped at the Walker residence and the Steins residence to, offer their gift baskets that they had, gotten for them before they went home. And the Steins residence is only a 85-second drive, because I've driven it many times, 85 seconds or 90 seconds at the most drive from, the Steins to the Ramseys. And Susan Stein said that she saw the whole family intact, whatever, take that for whatever it means. But, the fact that the story changed, 4 months after the fact is a huge red flag. And it's something that needs to, be considered when you look at what actually happened that night.
Exactly. And Cynic, would you like to add anything to that, my dear?
No, that pretty much covered it. Yeah.
So there's your first big red flag. Now, somebody asked, hold on, let me just, and we're trying to go in order here, but we'll get to your questions. Somebody asked, why was she wearing those size 10 pants? Well, real quick, supposedly the intruder redressed her, but we'll get to that later. Let me just make a note so we can, size 10 underpants, I should say. So we'll remember to talk about that. Okay. So now the morning of the kidnapping. Well, no, back up. Okay. Supposedly everybody slept through the night, and Patsy got up and found the note and screamed. But we know that's not true, because on the kitchen table was a bowl, and in the bowl was fresh cut pineapple. It was from the rind, and there was a glass of tea. Cynic, tell us about the fingerprints and what was on that table, and then we're going to show you why that is so important.
Okay, well, on the fingerprints were found on the bowl of pineapple. They belonged to Burke and Patsy. And on the glass, it was just Patsy, I believe. So, and one of the theories of what happened that particular night that led to JonBenet's death, according to James Kohler's book, is that there was an altercation, perhaps over the snack of pineapple that was there. Perhaps Burke was eating the pineapple, JonBenet snuck a piece, or whatever, some sort of an incident happened there. And then that ultimately led to a further issue where JonBenet was ultimately killed. But that's just one particular theory. But it is very interesting that, as was mentioned previously, that the autopsy revealed that pineapple was found in JonBenet's system, and given that she didn't consume pineapple at the White's party, that means that it must have been consumed at the home. And that is something that even Lou Smith, the investigator that was very pro Ramsey, said that this was this big bugaboo, as he referred to it as. It was a real problem, and the Ramseys had no explanation. They firmly denied feeding her pineapple at any time, and they just stuck to that story. So if we're left to wonder what the truth is. Certainly, it's extremely improbable that someone, such as an intruder, if people wish to espouse that theory, that an intruder would have somehow cozied up to JonBenet and got her to consume pineapple.
Okay, so everybody, listen to this. All right. Now, and you can find this in the, I think it's in the autopsy report. It's in all the books. Nobody denies this. JonBenet had pineapple in her system. And Cynic, how long do they feel like she had it in her system before she was killed? I mean, that's a real general.
About an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay, so it wasn't really digested yet. So there's no way she had it at the Whites. The Whites did not serve any pineapple, let alone fresh pineapple off the rind. Okay, so let's say 2 hours after she consumed that, she was killed. All of that is medical evidence. All right, the Ramseys can't explain it, and even Lou Smith, who actually worked for the, I think it was the district attorney's office, even he says that's his bugaboo. In other words, that just doesn't fit his intruder theory, so they're just going to throw that out. You never hear that, people. Remember, JonBenet got up in the night, and there was a bowl of pineapple with Burke's fingerprints and Patsy's. Okay? Now, also what was found on the countertop was a mag flashlight, great big heavy one, and it was wiped clean of fingerprints, but so were the batteries. No, they did not serve fruit cocktail. No, absolutely not. And even if they did, it wasn't fresh pineapple. That's the difference. This was fresh. It was cut off the rind. Okay. So they did not serve fresh pineapple or fruit cocktail. And that's absolutely been proven. And like I said, even Lou Smith, the Ramsey's big believer, says that's his big bugaboo. Okay. So now I'm going to jump here just a little bit. Burke said in his interview with the police that, and oh boy, Cynic, I'm going to go to you and then I'll go to you, Cottonstar. When Burke was 9 and he was interviewed, did he say his dad carried JonBenet upstairs to bed or not?
Well,
We know.
he made the statement that that he carried JonBenet up to her bed, and then Patsy was the one responsible for changing her from her
Right.
clothes that she wore to the party to.
But what did Burke say as a little kid? Didn't he say something about she walked up the stairs or something? I'm because he changed his story on Dr. Phil.
Yeah. Well, he? Yes.
Yeah.
John Ramsey. I might have misspoke there. If I said Burke said this, John said it. But
Right.
In terms of Burke, he definitely made the statement that he viewed JonBenet walking up the stairs on her own. So that was one of the things that was a contradiction in terms of what Burke has said over the years. I can't remember specifically where he said it at this time, but right. That statement was definitely made by him, and it is on record.
Okay, and then Cottonstar, do you remember what he said on Dr. Phil that contradicted what he had said earlier? I apologize. I meant to look this up and I forgot, and I hope you remember.
The contradiction on the Dr. Phil show primarily was that he said he snuck downstairs after everyone was asleep.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
That was the contradiction there.
Okay, let's start there. Okay, Burke Ramsey never told investigators that he snuck downstairs after everybody went to bed. And he said that on the Dr. Phil show. That's huge because the Ramseys have always said Burke was asleep the whole time. Right, Cottonstar? So that's a huge contradiction, right, Cottonstar?
Well, I mean, I think so. I mean, it's one of the revelations that came out from the 2016 20th anniversary during his interview with Dr. Phil that I believe I can't remember the exact wording, but that he had got up after everyone kind of went to bed. I think is sort of what he said exactly, to play with this toy.
Right.
And, even to this day, in fact, last year, John Ramsey gave an interview and he was asked about that. And he kind of like, well, I didn't know that, he was like, say, I didn't know Burke had done that. I didn't ask him or that's gotta be, false information, but it's not. I mean, he said it on Dr. Phil. And it aligns with what John Ramsey later told investigators as well 4 months later, that he stayed up with Burke for 15 to 20 minutes before they went to bed that night, which is actually another change in story in reality, because it went from reading a story to him to, okay, well, now he helped him put together a toy before he went to bed that night. So yeah, I mean, it's a big deal because it's never been answered for. I mean, it was just said one time and nobody has, I mean, what it really does, it puts Burke in the position of being downstairs around the exact same time that the intruder would have likely entered, the home at the time when everything started to go awry. So it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And MG says the Ramseys seem genuinely not to know about the pineapple. Why didn't the Ramseys just change their story back to they were awake and we fed her pineapple? Because then Patsy would have to admit she was up in the middle of the night with Burke and JonBenet. And if they were up in the middle of the night, what about the intruder? When would the intruder have time to come in and take JonBenet and write the ransom note and all of that? It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with their story. That's why. Now, Cottonstar, on your YouTube channel, you have a short that says Burke Ramsey testified to the grand jury that he was on the 911 call. Is that right?
Well, I mean, he didn't say that he was on it. He actually said that that the voice when the tape was played that it sounded like his voice
Okay.
on the 911 tape. Which that whole thing, the whole 911 call. If we want to go back a little bit, those voices or the conversation at the end of the 911 call is a legitimate thing. The operator or the dispatcher, Kimberly Archuleta, is the one that took the call that night or that in the early morning at 5:52 a.m. And she said that at the end of that call, there was a change in tone and she heard 3 distinct voices at the end of that call. And this kept her up at night. It made her worry because she realized that there was something else going on here. Then, she knew something was amiss.
Right.
And so, the 911 call, a lot of people relate it back to, okay, well, 2016 and when CBS, revealed what it was. But this thing, the reality in the history of the case was in April of 1997, Melissa Hickman of the Boulder Police Department traveled to California to the aerospace engineers who actually reviewed the tape. And after, they did their magic with it, whatever, whatever you do with that, they actually wrote down what they heard on the 911 call. And when the detective in the morning came back and she listened to the call, she wrote down the exact same thing that the engineers had written down. So this has been, which is, I'm not sure the exact verbiage. It's like, help me, please. Help me, Jesus.
Help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. We're not speaking to you, right?
We're not speaking to you in a terse, parental tone, and then a young boy saying, what did you find? And it's a legitimate thing that's been kind of like swept underneath the rug and tried to be hidden this whole for 29 years now. But it's a reality that that's not going to go away.
Exactly. And I'm going to play this. This is from the Mob Crew, and I believe we played this last year. And so hang on, I'm going to play this. This is a voice comparison between 911 call and Burke Ramsey. So do you got Cynic, do you know what this is? The voice comparison by the Mob Crew, by chance?
I do not.
Cottonstar, do you know? With the video, it's by the Mob Crew. Okay, this is what we played last year, I believe. So hang on. This is about a 5-minute tape here, and I want to put the link in chat. I would invite everybody to go listen. Okay, and thank you to the Mob Crew for putting this together. I hope it's the one I'm thinking of. I forgot to listen to it. It's so terrible. I forgot to listen to it before I grabbed it, but here we go.
All we know is that Burke did not come downstairs that morning, nor did we say to him, go back, or whatever it is they say that it's said on the 911 tape. I phoned the police.
Okay, now remember, Burke has contradicted that now and said on Dr. Phil that he did go downstairs to play with his toys. So here we go.
Called 911 from the kitchen telephone, wall phone. Hung up.
This is another, there's been no logic applied to any of this case in my judgment. Again, if we were trying to hide something, we'd say, oh yeah, I remember Burke did get up and I told him to go back to bed. Next question.
What did you find? Did you speak those words?
No.
Were you there when that call was made?
No.
So you were not there and you did not speak those words?
That's correct.
And I knew that for sure. And then there was another voice. So there were three different voices.
What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris, and welcome. Today's video is a big one. Recently, Netflix released another JonBenet Ramsey series. To me, in my opinion, it was heavily one-sided towards the Ramsey's defense. Today's video, I'm going to be doing the 911 call. I'm going to enhance it. I know it's been enhanced before. For those that don't know, Patsy didn't quite hang up the phone call at the end, and there are some voices heard. Allegedly, it's John, Patsy, and Burke Ramsey, who they claim was still in bed, and to this day claims that he was never down there when the phone call was being made. But in this call, it sounds like Burke saying, "What did you find?" So what I'm going to do is not only am I going to enhance the audio at the end, but I'm going to compare the same words he said in a interview that he did months later with, I think, a psychologist, and the results are shocking. Fun fact, if you're ever wondering what she was trying to say at the beginning, a lot of people don't have it, but it sounds like she was about to say, "We need an ambulance." Have a listen, and then I'll play the entire thing.
911 emergency. 911 emergency.
I thought I would add that in there. But anyway, here is the full thing now.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 5515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's blonde. 6 years old.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone.
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out and she's not here. Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Please,
well,
there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath for
Please,
me, okay?
hurry.
Patsy.
He said, I can feel desperately sorry for myself.
And it doesn't mean that you keep going 100% all the time.
Took her very quietly and go down the basement. Dad wants to find her body. Dad wants to find her body. Dad wants to find. Dad wants to find. Dad wants to find.
What did you find? Did you speak those words?
No.
Were you there when that call was made?
No.
So you were not there and you did not speak those words.
That's correct.
Dad wants to find her body. Dad wants to find her body. Dad wants to find. Dad wants to find. Dad wants to find.
There was a male voice, and I knew that for sure. And then there was another voice. So there were three different voices. The third one was a little bit more faint, but I knew there was a third distinct different voice.
Please share your thoughts in the comments down below. Please be respectful, as there's a lot of people with opinions on both sides. Please smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.
And everybody, I would highly recommend that you subscribe to the Mob Crew. That's a great representation of what happened. There's the Mob Q's link. And Francisca Jacob says, why did they leave the knife out right by her body? What? No, I don't remember a knife. Cynic, do you remember a knife?
Well, not right by her body. There is a knife found. There's a long hallway. The wine cellar. There was a small knife found in just on a counter, sort
Gotcha.
of in midway in that hallway.
Okay. Okay. So now we heard the 911 call. All right. Patsy said Burke wasn't there. As you said, Cottonstar, Ms. Archuleta, the 911 operator, heard it. I mean, she has no dog in this hunt. She has no reason to lie. No reason. Come on, guys. Now, Burke has admitted that he's gone downstairs, even though he denied being on the 911 call. All right. But he's admitted to going downstairs. And John Ramsey was asked about that, like you said, Cottonstar, and he folded his arms and said, no, that didn't happen. He misunderstood your question. And the interviewer didn't push back. So he said he didn't say that on Dr. Phil. Well, he did. It's exactly what he said. Okay, so now, again, it's up to you. Let's use your logic. Use your logic. All right. So I'm going to read the ransom note. Now, Cottonstar, Patsy Ramsey said she came down the stairs and found the ransom note, right? Where did she say she found it?
She said she found it on one of the lower rungs of stairs, you know, on the spiral staircase.
There's a spiral staircase, right? And then John Ramsey said that he came downstairs, cynic, and he got on all fours and read it, right?
That's true.
And so he didn't pick it up. Now, I just want to put this out there, my darlings. If your child was kidnapped and there was a ransom note, would you think not to touch it? Would you get on all fours and read it? No, you'd have it in your hand. You'd be hysterical. Okay. But he had to explain why his fingerprints weren't on it. All right. And I don't know why he came up with that, but he did. Now, Cynic or Cottonstar, did a neighbor ever say that they looked in the window and saw John Ramsey on all fours reading a letter, reading the ransom note? Does anybody remember that? Because somebody asked me about it, and I have no memory of that.
No.
Anyone? Okay.
No. The only thing relating to, I suppose, potentially the location of the notes was John Fernie said he looked through the southwest door, and he read a first few lines of the note. And I find that very doubtful anyway, but that's the only sort of reference to the note being where the Ramseys claimed it was.
No, there was no DNA found on the note, but they would explain that by just saying the intruder wore gloves. So, okay.
And the only prints on the note belonged to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation handwriting examiner, Chet Yabowski.
Right. So why weren't Patsy's weren't on there?
No.
That's weird. Well, I guess she got down on her hands and knees and wrote it too. And she was probably wearing gloves too when she wrote it. So go ahead, Cottonstar.
Well, I mean, I wanted to add something to this because this is a big deal that students of this case, need to actually examine for themselves. The stories are completely misaligned with the reality of parents who, have come upon the situation with, when their daughter's been kidnapped. I mean, Patsy Ramsey's story of coming down the spiral staircase to make coffee, and then, she sees the note spread out on one of the stairs, one of the lower rungs of stairs. If you were in your house and in the morning, anybody who has a staircase in their house, if you see, pieces of paper that have writing on it, and in the morning you walk down the stairs, 100% of the time you would pick it up
absolutely
and read it.
What the hell is this?
Well, exactly, right? I mean, and the fact that her story is that she stepped over the ransom note, did an about face, and then bent down at the waist and read a few lines such as, we have your daughter. And that compelled her not to pick up the note and read further. but to actually jump over that stair, her word is bound back up the stairs to check on JonBenet. And then nobody knows how it actually levitates, to
the ground, to
south
the floor.
right, the wooden floor hallway by the south patio door, where John actually comes up with a story that he doesn't have to touch the note either. It's spread out on the floor for him to read conveniently. And in Perfect Murder, Perfect Town, it is said that the note was actually found or turned in pristine condition. There was no indentions or fingerprints or folds or impressions. This note, psychologically, this note is the only thing that they have, the only hope that they have to get their daughter back. They're in a realistic scenario, in my opinion. That, I mean, there would be fingerprints, there would be indentions, there would be folds, there would be you couldn't take the note out of my hands.
Oh God, no,
because
you'd have
I'm
to
trying
kill
to
me.
figure it out. It's the only
Right.
thing. It's the only information I have to try to figure out where JonBenet is. And the fact that they don't touch it, they don't want to they don't want to talk about it, they don't want to the story. I mean, it's unrealistic. The fact that it was found in pristine condition, I mean, just from the very beginning, the fact that they answer the door when Officer French gets there and they don't have the note in hand, shoving it into his face saying, "Oh my God, please find my daughter." It says, no, they actually, and this is planned in my opinion. Okay. So they don't get their fingerprints on the note. They actually escort him to the south patio hallway by the kitchen nook, by the phone, and actually point to the ransom note on the floor. And that is when, Officer French put on gloves and then he read the note. And then he actually, in a couple minutes later, actually moved it back to the stairs. But I mean, it's just unrealistic. I mean, that is a big deal. That is a behavioral evidence, that is behavioral tell. I mean, they don't want to touch the note. It's a big deal.
Somebody's notifications are going off, and it's either me, Cottonstar, or Cynic. I think we found the culprit. Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to fine you, Cottonstar. Lots of big bucks, big fines here.
It's not me.
It's not you? Oh, I thought it was you. Cynic, is it you?
I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of.
It's not. I only have
Hold
one
on,
phone
Matt.
here, and it's not me. And Stacy is muted.
I hear it. It kind of sounds like Windows notifications or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Hold
not
on.
getting any
Hold on, Matt.
notifications.
Oh, maybe it was me. I mean, I don't know. It's good now, huh?
Yeah, it's good now. Well, nope, just went off again. Okay, now mine just went off, but it's a different sound.
I muted my mic and I could still hear it, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh, let's do that. Let's. I'm going to mute my mic, and Cynic, you mute yours. Okay, Cottonstar, unmute your mic.
Okay, I just did.
Okay, let's see. Because it had stopped, and then it came back. Okay, Cynic, unmute your mic. Okay, it stopped. Nope, it started again. Okay, Cottonstar, I'm going to mute you. It's going. I'm going to mute myself. Is it me? Okay, Cynic, I'm going to mute you. It's Cynic or me, but I don't know. I don't know. That's so weird. It is Chad. Thank you. Just call me Kim P. It's Chad Daybell and his damn portal people. Okay, well, hopefully it'll stop, and I'll keep looking to see if it's mine. It wouldn't surprise me if it was mine. I had no idea that it makes that sound. But anyway, so all of that, Cottonstar, is absolutely true. Why in the world didn't they just pick up the note like any normal person who was panicked? I don't understand their thinking on that. There must have been a thought process to it. that they didn't want their fingerprints on it. Cynic, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tough to say what was going through their mind there, and there was a lot of weirdness with respect to that. As Cottonstar touched on, it seemed as if that note was just floating through the air because they all seem to have extreme memory loss in terms of John doesn't remember getting the note from Patsy. He doesn't sort of recall how it ended up on the floor. It's a really strange stuff there, and the only other bit of evidence in the case there that was also remarkably clean of prints, of course, was the flashlight as well. But yeah, what the thought process was, I guess, just simply distance yourself as much as possible from anything to do with the evidence. It almost seems to be the same thought process that prevented them from admitting to many things. Obviously, pineapple being a notable one. Possibly admitting that the Burke was up at some point that morning. No, he was fast asleep, and so on and so forth. Just this overwhelming urge just to totally distance yourself from absolutely any evidence that might exist in terms of contact with JonBenet and the alleged kidnapping.
It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm going to read the ransom note, but first, yes, I remember your father. Oh my God, how could I not? Hold on, USA Tragedy. You got to email me, guys. This is the daughter of my old radio partner. Let me just take a moment to do something personal here. WebSleuths 50. Oops. There we go. She said, "Do you ever age?" That's why she was always my favorite. Anybody that gives me any sort of compliment, I am that shallow. It will automatically become my favorite. So thank you. I hope you'll email me, my dear. Tell me how you've been, okay? All right. Yeah, exactly, Seabiscuit. Crying. I would be crying, sobbing. There'd be my tears all over the ransom note. Oh, it doesn't make any sense. And again, I don't understand their theory, unless it's what you said, Cynic, that John Ramsey is just distance yourself from everything. From your fingerprints can't be on it. No, it can't be on it because they'll say you wrote it.
Right.
Go ahead, Cottonstar.
I was going to add one right before you read the note. I believe this. I've studied this. I believe the psychology is this. If you think about it, in a legitimate kidnapping, the parents' fingerprints would be expected to be all over the ransom note, right?
Exactly.
And obviously they thought that, but here's the thing: when the ransom note is your biggest thing, your biggest worry, that hey, are people going to believe this? Because it's going to look like Patsy's writing, and this is our biggest. This is the thing that we're worried about. You can't afford to actually have your fingerprints on that note because how it's going to look, and that's what I believe occurred.
There you go. If nobody's fingerprints are on it, then they can't say we wrote it. Stacy, go ahead.
Yeah, because if only their fingerprints aren't on it, then it's just, well, you guys are the only one that have touched it that we have evidence of,
right,
etc. And also the complete distancing thing. We had nothing to do with this,
There you go. That's it. So before we go on, Cynic, is there anything you'd like to add? I'm going to read the ransom note.
Not at this time, no.
Okay, and Cottonstar, anything you'd like to add before I read the ransom note here?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, of course, now I don't have it handy. I'll get it. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's not it. Oh, God, I just had it in my hand. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. I really did just have it. I really did. Here it is. I have these huge notebooks just filled with all kinds of stuff. Okay. Here we go. Last time I read this a couple of years ago, I screwed it up. So I've been practicing, people. Here we go. Listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, We have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed. And if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier delivery pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, SBTC. Okay. First of all, I just want to say, the people that people are alleging wrote this note, they would never know how to even spell attaché. Who uses that word, attaché? Again, this is a very sophisticated letter. And I'm going to go to Cynic and Cottonstar, and then we're going to talk about not matching the handwriting, but matching the semantics and the way it is written. So Cynic, what are your comments as we get going on the most important, absolutely the most important piece of evidence in the JonBenet Ramsey case?
Well, as I've said in other shows, I do strongly believe that some good, solid linguistic analysis would be very enlightening to a lot of people, just in the general public. That's for sure. In terms of the Boulder Police Department and proceeding forward that way, I really don't believe that there's any possibility of anything happening to anyone that may have been connected with the case in terms of the Ramseys. That's for sure. But back in the day, the Don Foster, one of the, well, actually not one of the, he was considered to be the most eminently qualified linguistic analyst, certainly probably in North America at least, if not on a larger scale. And he looked at the linguistics, and he didn't just have, it's similar to when we discuss handwriting analysis with, say, somebody like Sina Wong being involved. She had access to over 100 exemplars. So writings of Patsy Ramsey from like a daytimer, various notes, and so on and so forth, many exemplars. And similarly with Don Foster, he had access to, for example, he was aware of the books that were noted during search warrants. And he also, of course, had examples of Patsy's writings, whether she was in the habit of doing Christmas newsletters. Of course, she had many notes in her daytimer. And as I say, he just had a wide array of exemplars to compare to what he was seeing in the ransom note. And based upon that, he concluded that Patsy wrote the note based on linguistics. And of course, similarly, as I've already mentioned, Sina Wong's name, she similarly concluded based on handwriting analysis that Patsy wrote the note.
And let's explain what exemplars are. That is samples of Patsy's handwriting, and Sina had samples of Patsy's handwriting before she wrote the ransom note. They had, if I'm remembering correctly, and that is they went around the house and found things that Patsy had written, so she couldn't try and disguise her handwriting. But the linguistics of it is not the matching of the letters, but it's the way it's written, the cadence, the words used. How would you explain that, Senek? You can explain it better than I can.
Well, yes, we all unconsciously use similar methods of speaking, similar methods of writing. Patsy had a habit of using acronyms for many things. And of course, we notice the at the tail end of the ransom note, the SBTC, Patsy similarly used a number of acronyms for many things. She had a habit of using a lot of exclamation marks. Then there was even simply just the way that the note was written in terms of paragraphs. You had the header at the front there. It was just very consistent with the way that she wrote, just in terms of the framework of the note. And then just some of the words that were used, words such as, of course, the infamous "and hence." There's nothing wrong with using the word "hence," but when you put "and" in there, it becomes redundant. And Patsy had a habit of doing that, just as one example. Yeah, there's just a number of things that were noted by Don Foster, and apparently it was exceptionally compelling. It's clear that Steve Thomas was quite impressed with the presentation that he was party to. And that can, of course, be read in his book there. He has a fair bit dedicated to it, and it's quite enlightening.
It really is. I'm trying to get a good picture of it here, but hang on just a second. Oh, boy, let's see. Is that a good one? That's not a very good one. Let me see if I can... shoot. Cynic, do you have a good picture of the ransom note? I thought I had one, but I don't. Not a good one. Well, wait, maybe I've got a good one here. Just a second. Let's see if I can share this screen. If I can share this screen, it'll be good. Yes, and absolutely, Patsy, when she answered the door, she already had her hair and makeup done, and she was wearing the same clothes that she wore the day before. And all of her friends said she never wore the same outfit twice. The logical conclusion, she never went to bed that night. So hang on here. Let me get this really quickly here. And
here's a question up here I thought the gentleman could answer.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about, and we'll talk more about the autopsy later, but Cottonstar, why don't you go ahead and then we'll let Cynic jump in too. What did the autopsy say was the cause of death?
It was I'm not sure of the exact phraseology. I mean, strangulation associated with blunt force trauma. I'm not sure of the exact phraseology, but that's the way that it was listed, I believe, as the cause of death.
Okay. Cynic, would you like to jump in there real quick?
Well, what Cottonstar said is true. It was the two causes were listed there, and I believe I mentioned it on the last show that regardless of whether the ligature was applied, JonBenet would have passed away from the massive head trauma that she received.
Right.
But the ligature strangulation is essentially just speeded the process up. But both should have been listed, and they were, and both were quite capable of causing JonBenet's death.
Exactly. Okay. So we talked about Don Foster, very well known and highly respected. What is he a linguistics expert, cynic?
Yes.
Okay.
Say possibly. Well, at the time, he was considered to be the, well, as I say, certainly the premier linguistic expert in North America.
Got it. Okay, so now we're going to show some of Sina Wong's work. And let's see. Is this it here? Okay, I'm going to play. You made this, I believe, Cynic, and it's 4 minutes long, and it's the truth about the ransom note. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, I'm going to play this for you right now because this is just amazing, absolutely amazing. So hang on here. Let me. Where did it go? Now I can't find it. Is this it? No, that's not it. Well, shoot. Hang on, guys, just a second. Okay, there it is. Now, let me share this. Is it okay if I share the screen with the video on it that you made, Cynic?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. The grand jury, which indicted the Ramseys on 2 serious felony charges, believed that Patsy Ramsey wrote the note. The following, hold on just a second. Let me go back here. The following presentation gives a brief glimpse as to why. The video features an interview with document examiner Sina Wong and an interview with grand juror Jonathan Webb. Okay, now you see that? I don't know if Cynic, if you and Cottonstar, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you see the E's here? Okay, one is Patsy Ramsey, the other is the ransom note. And we've had Sina on before, and she was really good at explaining. If you look at the bottom E, okay, the one on the left is the ransom note. And you see how it's kind of thick there at the top? Well, same thing on one of Patsy's exemplars that they got. I mean, these are so close. It's like and this is just a minor itsy bitsy example. They're so close. It's like, how could the intruder who wrote the ransom note get so close to Patsy Ramsey's? But let's continue. There's more. Oh, there's the D's, C's and D's. Okay. I mean, if you look at this, okay, I mean, look at this. Is this an O? I'm not even sure what this is at the bottom. Can you see that, Cynic? Or is that an A? Is that a small A at the bottom of this one?
I believe that's an, I don't know. I think it's an O.
Okay, but whatever it is, I mean, look how Patsy Ramsey wrote it on your right, and then look at the ransom note. 0, it's a O with a line through it. Okay, look at above that, the small A's, the D's. Now, the reason why, I mean, and Sina Wong would explain it like, you know, this D has a little tail on the end there. I mean, look at the C. It's got a sharp, look at that. It's almost like a sideways V. And Cynic, would you like to comment on any of these?
I think they pretty much speak for themselves.
Yeah, they're pretty, yeah, exactly. Cottonstar, anything you'd like to say before I continue?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Here we go. O. And here's this. I want to show this O, and this is what Sina points out. Go down 1, 2, 3. The 4th O on the ransom note and the 4th O on Patsy Ramsey. You see how it has a little tail at the top? I mean, in the P. And then the famous Q's at the bottom. Who, other than Stacy, because Stacy's a lunatic, who makes their Q's like the number 8? That's a small Q. Ransom note. I know. I mean, it's just like, are you kidding me? And I love calling Stacy a lunatic because I love her so much. But when she told me she made Q's like that, I'm like, of course you do. Of course you do. Where were you on December 26th? But I mean, you guys, look at this. Look at and that's why I made those T-shirts. The Q's have it. which I still have a few of them left if anybody really is dying for one. Yeah. Okay. It's just this, and this is just an example of over 230 matches, people. And Cynic, can you explain what this is? Because I can't read it.
Forensic handwriting expert
we'll let
Sina
Sina
Wong has
talk
also
about it.
studied the Ramsey's writing samples.
The benefit of analyzing a longer note is that you have more handwriting to work with. When I looked at the first page, I noticed that the writing was slow, a little awkward, but as I progressed to the second page and the third page, I saw that the writing was more fluid, written more naturally. It tells me that what we're dealing with was a disguised writing. It's difficult to try and hide your natural habits of your handwriting. You can change it for a little bit, for a sentence or a paragraph, but once you go beyond that, your natural handwriting characteristics will come out. After my examination of John Ramsey's handwriting, I was able to rule him out as a ransom note writer.
But when she compares Patsy's writing to the ransom note, the similarities are striking.
When I look at a suspect's handwriting, I look at the characteristics that are unique to that writer. These are the 5 very unique variations of the letter E that the ransom note writer and Patsy Ramsey share. Here, Patsy's C is very distinct because it is compressed, it's pointed on the left side, and you see that it's also similar in the C on the ransom note. That's a Q. That looks like a number 8. How many people write their Qs with the number 8? I don't. Do you? In this case, I found over 200 similarities between Patsy Ramsey's handwriting and the ransom note. So it's highly probable that Patsy Ramsey wrote the ransom note.
My name is Jonathan Webb. I was a grand juror on the JonBenet Ramsey case.
Webb told us that the grand jury spent most of their time focused on 2 main issues. First, who wrote that ransom note?
We heard from 3 handwriting experts, and even though the handwriting experts couldn't definitively say that she wrote it, they all 3 came to the same conclusion that it could have been Patsy Ramsey, and the grand jury believed that she wrote it.
The second focus for this grand jury, according to Jonathan Webb, was the viability of the intruder theory.
Smith actually presented his intruder theory to the grand jury.
This is the very first photo taken of the training room basement window. The window is wide open. Now, if I was a detective, I'd have said, wow, this is entry.
But the grand jury wasn't buying the intruder theory because of those cobwebs in the window.
The intruder theory didn't make sense to the grand jury. The Boulder police had photographed cobwebs. So for someone to get through a small opening like that and not disturbing a cobweb would be remarkable.
Patsy and John are accused of permitting a child to be unreasonably placed in a situation which posed a threat of injury to the child's life or health, which resulted in the death of JonBenet Ramsey. And then in the other one, did unlawfully, knowingly, and feloniously render assistance to a person with intent to hinder the apprehension of the person. These 2 things together make it clear that the grand jury couldn't point the finger at one or the other, but that they were convinced that it was one of the 2 of them and that the other one helped.
And if I could go back,
Yes, I'm sorry,
a
Cynic.
bit to
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I could just go back a bit to Don Foster. I'm just looking through Steve Thomas's book, and I'll just give you one paragraph. The documents he studied from Patsy Ramsey, in his opinion, that's Don Foster's opinion, formed a precise and unequivocal match with the ransom note. He read a list of unique matches with the note that included such things as her penchant for inventing private acronyms, spelling habits, indentation, alliterative phrasing, metaphors, grammar, vocabulary, frequent use of exclamation points, and even the format of her handwriting on the page.
That is amazing. And again, it's not just Sina Wong, it's a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of experts. And no, nobody should say that 100% Patsy wrote the note. I don't think you can say that. In fact, Sinek, didn't one of the handwriting experts that said that, didn't he kind of get in trouble for that, or am I mistaken?
He did. We're referring to Gideon Epstein here.
Yes.
He said that he was 100% certain that Patsy Ramsey wrote the note, and he just, in terms of causing an issue for him, it caused an issue for him in a civil trial in which he said that, and he was essentially criticized for sort of going over the top there.
Exactly. And somebody in chat, and I meant to grab it and I didn't, said, we are not pro Ramsey here. I'll tell you what, we are pro the truth. Whatever the truth is, if something comes out that shows that an intruder did this, I swear to God, I will spend the rest of my life apologizing to the Ramseys and trying to make up for everything I've done. All I've done is just tell the truth. But we are pro-truth. It just happens to be that the Ramseys, in my opinion, are not telling the truth. And Cottonstar, what do you think?
Well, to go back on, Donald Foster for a minute, back then when he was asked to look into the case, I must say, he probably has the most definitive work that there was on the Ramsey ransom note. He came up, he uncovered some things that other people didn't do. He probably, like I said, he probably did the best work on the linguistics that you could possibly do. The problem with him was that, just like so many other people in this case, I think, his ego, kind of got him here, because what did him in was, a couple of months after the murder occurred, he actually wrote a letter to Patsy Ramsey, and it was a big letter. It was 3 or 4 pages long, and this is before he actually was asked to work on the case. So this was months before. He wrote a letter to Patsy Ramsey saying, basically saying, I know that you didn't do this.
That's right. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of stuff, which, to me, after he actually started working on the case, and then for him to actually change his opinion after getting all of the exemplars and actually doing the work on it, is a big deal. But the problem is, and the reason why I think he was released and he wasn't able to work on the case anymore, Hunter let him go, Alex Hunter let him go, is because of that. You couldn't have that in a court. If the case was ever to go to trial, they would tear that apart.
Right.
So, but he did do wonderful work on this case, and it's sad that we actually, because of, not really the laws, but because of, NDAs, that we're not actually are privy to his work, because he really did good work on this case.
It's ridiculous. Those non-disclosure agreements, they should be illegal. But yeah, thank you for reminding me. I had completely forgotten, because he was just following the case like we all were. And he wrote Patsy just thinking he was being nice and, hey, I want to reach out to this poor woman. And then when he was hired and he had to change his mind, can you imagine? He knew what he had to do, and he knew how it's going to make him look. But what could you do? He had to tell the truth. And he made that comment to Patsy before he had a chance to look at any of her exemplars for anything. And then when he was hired and, like you said, got to look over everything, he went, oh boy. Yeah, I made a big mistake. She wrote this note. So yeah, it was, it just seems like the Ramseys got so many breaks. Don't you think, Cottonstar? They really did. It was like break after break after break. Hey, we've gone an hour and a half and we have just gotten to the ransom note. But are you guys up for like a 4 or 5 day live stream? I hope so. If you got any Adderall, let's do it. Okay.
I was going to add to Don Foster. It would still be defensible in a court, but obviously problematic, because
yeah.
the defense is obviously fairly straightforward, that he simply, had virtually no evidence to work with. Like, we're talking
Right.
1% versus the 99.9% of things that he had access to once he was given access to what the police and the investigation had. So
Mhm.
yes, it's defensible. It's just a real shame, obviously, that he made that initial mistake. But
Exactly.
it wouldn't have been catastrophic, but it's a problem. And in terms of non-disclosure agreements, yeah, that's a problem. It's a problem that Sina faces as well. She can't, she would have she cannot, for example, disclose the exemplars that she used.
And why wouldn't the Ramseys want that released? Because that's all on them. That was Lynn Wood, and I'm sure John Ramsey can release everybody from their non-disclosure. Why wouldn't he? Rhetorical question, people. And by the way, I do want to say, if anybody accidentally sends me anything that they're not supposed to disclose, I will disclose it and never tell anybody where it came from. So I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there. Send it all to me.
And
I'll take it.
And I'd like to add with regard to the bit that we saw Sina comment on with respect to the ransom note. The other thing that I've mentioned on a few shows is that one of the Ramsey experts, when he did his report, he said that there is what he claimed to be a master pattern of whoever wrote that ransom note. And given that he was hired by the Ramseys, he was of course implying that this master pattern was written by, some unknown individual, some
right.
perhaps. So in other words, if those handwriting characteristics that he outlined could be found in the writing of a suspect, that person would be the ransom note writer. But interestingly, what he didn't know is that Sina was able to take every part of his master pattern and match it to Patsy Ramsey.
Are you serious? I didn't know that. Oh my God, that's great. That's amazing.
And the expert that we're talking about here is Lloyd Cunningham.
And so there you go. I mean, and Sina Wong, to me, there's nobody more top notch. And she is respected, and she is so, I just can't say, she's so professional, and she will not do anything that would, what's the word I'm looking for, that would in any way, shape, or form impugn her professionalism. She really is a truly amazing human being who's had an incredible life. I wish she would write a book just about her life, let alone this case. So anyway.
Yeah, she's very ethical.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Stacy reads my mind because she's like a witch like that. Anyway, I just want to, been needing to say this to USA Tragedy. SBTC equals some bullshit to confuse someone being totally clever. I think that's as good a guess as any. So, and let me just go over this. Cynic, any idea, does SPTC really mean anything? Or do you think it was just thrown on there by Patsy to confuse everybody?
It might have had some meaning to her. One of the most common explanations of that is Saved by the Cross, which could fit perhaps with Patsy's theology and way of thinking. So that that's just one possibility. So it could have had some legitimate purpose,
right?
Or it could have just been something thrown out there just to add something nonsensical to the end of a note to further throw people off.
And Cottonstar, any thoughts?
Well, it's going back to Donald Foster on this. I mean, I think that he figured it out. I mean, when you look at the staging in this case and you look at the Bible, John Ramsey's Bible that was actually opened on his desk in his den on the attic floor. Foster saw crime scene photos and figured out, I believe it was the page before, but I believe Psalms 36 and 35 and 36 were circled, and the beginning of Psalm 35, and I could be mistaken just a little bit here, but the first four letters were SBTC in
Really?
reverse.
Okay.
It was C, T, B, S.
Wow.
And you think, okay, well, what is that? The fact that the Bible was open, and I think it was the page before that, but the psalm was circled. Imagine the coincidence. I mean, is that a coincidence? I mean, I don't think so. It's the only place that it appears in the Bible together. I think it's a big deal.
That is a big deal. And if I heard that, I've forgotten it. That is really a big deal.
I've got the passage here from Steve's book. We've never found a satisfactory explanation for the SBTC sign-off on the ransom note until Foster drew our attention to John Ramsey's Bible, which was found open at Psalms 35 and 36 on his desk. Aloud, Foster read the first four verses. Contend, O Lord, with those who contend with me. Fight against those who fight against me. So contend is there. Take up shield and buckler. Arise and come to my aid. So you've got the T, the beginning there. Brandish spear and javelin against those who pursue me. So you've got the B. And then finally, say to my soul, I am your salvation. And you have the S there.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
And he said these letters appear in that arrangement nowhere else in the Bible in either sequence. It was difficult to believe that the terrorists who killed the child and had been up in the third floor study reading the Bible.
Wow. I wonder what John Ramsey would say to that. Wouldn't it be nice if we could sit down and just ask him these questions very politely? If I could talk to John Ramsey, I would be I've always been polite. The couple of times I've talked to him, he's always been very polite to me. I would be so polite, but I would not let him get away with giving me some flippant answer. Just some flippant little, dismissive answer. And that's why you will never see him on Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace she wouldn't be as nice as I would be. But, and that's why you'll never see at CrimeCon a panel to talk about the real truth. That's, again, I'm not going to get off on a tangent here, but that's one of the things I really want to talk to the people that have taken over CrimeCon, which is Fox. They've got to allow a panel to get up there and show the actual evidence, because John Ramsey has been allowed on CrimeCon to be a rock star, and he gets up there and he says whatever he wants, and people believe him because guess what? Next year it'll be 30 years. Most of these people weren't even born that are reading about the case. So anyway, it makes me crazy. Okay, so we've got the note. Now, remember what that said in the note. Now I'm just going to find this part right here. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You don't tell you if we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. So what do? They call the police. They call their neighbors. If they said in the note, they're watching the house, the two gentlemen watching you. All of a sudden they see all these people come over, and they see the police come over. If you tell a stray dog she dies, you know what that tells me? They knew that she wasn't going to die. She was already dead. But comments, Cottonstar?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like an excuse, really, like as in, maybe perhaps, that she was killed because, that was written in the note. And perhaps, that's the reason why she was killed, after they called the police or something. In reality, though, I think that like anybody would call the police in that situation, even if it said,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it may not. Now, what wouldn't have happened, I don't think, it's like, you would have some sort of conversation between John and Patsy. There wouldn't be an immediate calling over their friends. There would be more of a discussion of, what
should we do?
Right. Exactly.
Oh, gosh. Let's see. Okay. Thanks, Stacy. Okay. Go ahead, Sinek.
I was just going to add, I think it's terribly ironic when John Ramsey speaks of the police not clearing the crime scene when he's the one responsible for creating a house full of people.
Exactly. Oh, the hypocrisy is phenomenal. Okay, so let's talk about this. So they call everybody over, right? And then Cynic, I'll start with you. What happens? They call everybody over. They call the police. Linda Arndt shows up, and what happens?
Well, ultimately, Linda Arndt had a real problem on her hands because one by one, the other law enforcement people that were there left the home. And ultimately, for a good stretch of time, she was there alone trying to control a house full of people. And ultimately, she made made the decision to ask John and Fleet to look for anything out of place in the home. And that's when John and Fleet went downstairs and found JonBenet.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But both, interestingly, both of them were down in the basement prior to that particular search. Both John at some point, and it's one of those instances where John's memory completely seems to elude him in terms of coming up with an answer in terms of when specifically he was there. A lot of people think that a good possibility for that particular visit to the basement was in a stretch of time roughly from 10:30 to noon, where Linda Arndt had lost track of John's whereabouts. So that could have been a potential time when he was there. Fleet, it's assumed that Fleet was there in the very soon after he arrived, and as I say, it's interesting that they were both down there prior to Linda encouraging them to go through the home.
And Fleet, didn't Fleet White move the suitcase? Now this is important. There's a picture of the suitcase up against the wall, and they say that's where the intruder came in. But didn't Fleet White put it there, or am I mistaken?
Well, when John and Fleet were both together in their search, they both acknowledged the possibility of moving that particular suitcase because they were just looking around for glass, and yeah, the suitcase was shuffled around by potentially one or both of those people, John and Fleet.
So here, I'm just going to show this picture really quick of the suitcase. And this is underneath the window where they say the intruder came in. Now, Cottonstar, do you know if Fleet or John said that they opened the window that morning?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I believe, and Cynic can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that Fleet White said that when he first went down there, that he actually moved the suitcase away from the wall, with it being flush on the wall. I mean, I could be wrong, or that could be, not a legitimate piece of evidence. I believe it is. I believe he moved it away from the wall. Although, therefore, when that picture was taken, which was some 14 hours after the 911 call, so this photo was taken at nighttime. It, like Stenik was saying, it could have been moved by either of the men when they both went down there at 1 o'clock to get into that position right there. But as in for the window, if Fleet White did pull it away from the wall, and he went down there around 6:15 to 6:30 a.m. Well, John says when he first went down there that it was flush against the wall. So that puts John down there before Fleet White. That's just something that's, gained from, reading the interviews there. But when you're talking about the window there, John said that when he first went down there that it was open 1/8 of an inch. and he sort of just like closed it and sort of kind of latched it. And then when Fleet White said he went down there around the same time, or around 6:30 a.m., like I was saying, he said that the window was closed but unlatched. So the photo, the famous Lou Smith, and I call it the Lou Smith photo because like something
Right.
you showed earlier, he says, well, this is the first photo taken of the basement window, and if I'm an investigator here, then I'm like, wow, this is something. Well, he knows full well that this photo was taken 14 hours after the 911 call, so it's not a legitimate or true
A true representation. Yeah.
of what the scene looked like that morning. So
You're right. And there was glass on the suitcase, but John admitted that he had broken that window earlier in like the summer to get in the house. And so if the suitcase was there at that time, which it was, there would be glass on top of it. So again, that means this means nothing, people. The suitcase means nothing. And we'll show you why. And again, you saw the video earlier. Grand jury knew there was no intruder, and we'll tell you why here in a little bit. But again, this is just another red herring used by John Ramsey, and he knows the truth about this, but you'll never hear him talk about it. And because the interviewers don't know enough, they don't know enough to ask him, and that's the problem. Okay, so let's talk about when Linda Arndt decided to ask John and Fleet to look around again because they're waiting for a phone call. They don't know what's going to happen. The ransom note said, I'll call you later today. Now, was it written yesterday? Did that mean that morning, or did it mean later in the afternoon? I mean, they didn't know. So they're sitting around supposedly waiting for this phone call. Linda Arndt tells them, go look around. Cynic, why don't you take the narrative from there?
Okay, she asked them to do that, and the choice was made, I assume, by John, to go to the basement. And when they were down in the basement, one of the rooms that they looked in was, as we were just previously discussing, the train room, where they noted the window, and John was explaining to Fleet that yes, I might have, yes, I broke that window early in summer, and I guess it wasn't fixed, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, John leaves the train room. Fleet's following a few steps behind, and then at some point, John, I believe he sort of accelerates a bit and gets a fair distance in front of Fleet. He goes to the what's referred to as the wine cellar,
mm-hmm.
and opens the door. And here's where there's a little bit of controversy in terms of John lets out yells out, screams, whatever.
Oh my God, was it? Oh my God, I think.
And the question is, did he acknowledge that he saw JonBenet to his left wrapped in a blanket before he switched on the light,
mm-hmm.
or after he switched on the light? Now, Fleet, when he was down there alone earlier that morning, he did actually open that door, but he was unable to find the light switch. And that is
pitch dark.
It's a windowless room. It's pitch dark. And the door, the way the door is set up, it pulls toward you. So it pulls toward you, then you stand, and all you have is a little bit of ambient light from the hallway. And if you gave your eyes a chance to adjust, perhaps you might have seen something. But he just kind of looked in. He was mostly just yelling JonBenet's name.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I'm sure he said JonBenet, and no response. He sees darkness, and he just closes the door and goes on his way. But anyway, so as I say, the controversy a little bit is, did John yell out before he got to the light switch or not?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, he, regardless of that fact, he notices a blanket. He immediately realizes that JonBenet's in that blanket, and she was wrapped papoose-like, papoose-like, he says in one of his interviews. So just her feet were sticking out a bit, her head and shoulders were sticking up a bit, her arms were over her head, and he could see some ligature between her wrists.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people don't get the idea that her wrists were somehow bound tightly together, they were not. There's a considerable gap between them. And so he loosens her the ligature on her left hand, picks up JonBenet out of the blanket. Rigor mortis had set in, and her arms were rigid and over her head. And interestingly, the way he carries her is extremely odd, I think. He holds her by her waist. He holds her away from him, so his arms are stretched out, and he's kind of holding her like a plank of wood, essentially, away from him.
Like this is her body, and he's holding her out like this. I'm demonstrating. Yeah.
Yes. And then he goes upstairs. JonBenet is laid down initially in the area immediately upstairs. And then Linda Arts chooses to move her body and places her under the Christmas tree.
And Patsy throws herself on her. And understandably, I mean, again, that's what a parent would do. And maybe at those times that the tears were real. But at one point, according to Steve Thomas's book, and was it Officer French, cynic, that said he saw Patsy doing this with her hands splaying her fingers?
Yes, it was French.
Yeah. And looking at, well, she was crying. So.
And the other contaminants that occurred there too is John Ramsey grabbed a blanket in the room, placed it over her body, and then someone else placed a sweatshirt over JonBenet's feet, a Colorado Avalanche sweatshirt over JonBenet's bare feet.
So
then Patsy moved over, and then she threw herself on top of JonBenet's body.
Okay, so then Cottonstar, all hell breaks loose, call the police, and at some point Burke is removed. And is he taken to the Whites or the Fernies? I can't remember. Do you remember, Cottonstar?
Well, he was taken to the Whites, but that was at 7:13 a.m. actually in the morning.
Oh, in the morning. Okay.
Before Detective Arndt arrived, Officer French actually tried to talk with him, speak with him, interview him real quick. And John ushered him out of the house, said that, Burke didn't see anything. He was asleep all night. But going back forward again, if I can,
Sure.
There's a couple of things that that I think is really important here. And these are the type of pieces of evidence that never get talked about, and why probably there's never going to be a conviction in this case in reality. Because after John Ramsey brought JonBenet upstairs and laid her on the carpet in the foyer by the front door, on the rug, Linda Arndt, checked for a pulse, and John asked her if she was alive, and she told John that no, your daughter, his daughter's dead. And then she went and told John Ramsey to go to the den and call 911 for a coroner to respond. And that is when Linda Arndt picked her up and then moved her by the Christmas tree. And then interestingly, John Ramsey doesn't call 911. He comes back about approximately 2 minutes later and asks if he can put cover JonBenet up with a blanket. And before Linda Arndt can even say anything, he puts a blanket over JonBenet, and then he gets down close to her. He puts his arm around her. He keeps saying, my little angel, my little angel. And then, he goes back up in the kneeling position and tells Linda Arndt that this must be an inside job because no one knows, about the wine cellar in the basement. So this has to be an inside job, which is incredible to say at that point in time. Additionally, after he said those words to Linda Arndt, he
Mm-hmm.
also, Father Rawl, who was, the priest, the family priest, that was there, comforting the family or trying to, heard John Ramsey say that, whoever did this, didn't mean to kill her because she was, warm and wrapped in a blanket. And a few other people, including the victim advocates, also heard John Ramsey say that numerous times.
Really?
That whoever did this, didn't mean to do it because she was wrapped in her blanket. Those statements are incredibly compelling and interesting because to me, it the sort of like the crescendo ending of it all. This must be an inside job. Why is John, you know, why so sure at that point that it has to be an inside job?
Right.
It's
Why
really
would
an
he say
incredible
that?
statement. I mean, really, I mean, it's something to examine. And for me, I believe that it's part of linguistically staging the crime scene. I mean, all morning long, him and Patsy were saying, that the housekeeper had a key, and
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Merrick, was disgruntled employee.
Right.
And so it's all kind of like, at the end, well, it's got to be an inside job, and that's the way I believe that the crime scene was staged that day. Not for some random intruder
Mm-hmm.
or pedophile intruder, but as an inside job. That's the way that it was staged. If indeed it was staged, which I believe it was. And so those comments are interesting. Another one more thing. I mean, is Patsy Ramsey, when she came in, she waited 2 to 3 minutes. Now, when Fleet White ran up the stairs after JonBenet was found by John, he was saying, "Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! We found her! We found her!" Every single person in the house, and I believe there was 12 or 14 people at the time,
Mm-hmm.
rushed to the front foyer, which
Oh,
anybody would do. I mean,
right.
anybody
Sure.
would do it except for one person. Patsy
Patsy.
Ramsey stayed in the den for, by all accounts, 2 to 3 minutes, and then waited um, until Barbara Fernie and Priscilla White actually went and escorted Patsy, and then that is when she saw her, and then threw her body all over and contaminated the crime scene even more, and with all the histrionics of Lazarus, please raise my baby. I mean,
Right.
it really seems like a show was going on
It
after
was.
JonBenet. I mean, the whole day, but especially when JonBenet was after JonBenet was found.
And Stacy, this is what I'm talking about with Cottonstar and Cynic. Now I remember that, but I had no memory of that. About everybody rushed when they heard Fleet White come up.
Yeah.
Everybody rushed, but Patsy. Go ahead, Cottonstar.
I mean, that's. I mean, I don't know if I answered your question, but I mean, I know I went off on a tangent, but
No,
I mean,
you guys, I want
that's
you to go off
what
on tangents.
I mean, it's these type of things, these little micro clues that occurred that people just don't know about, and these are incredibly damning pieces of evidence that the Ramseys had previous knowledge that JonBenet
Mhm.
was already dead.
Exactly. And Cynic, would you like to add anything to that? That's incredible information, and that's something that John Ramsey should be asked about, but nobody has.
Sure. Just one thing. I always thought it was an incredibly bizarre question for John to ask Linda in terms of whether JonBenet is essentially alive or not. Linda Arndt said there was a smell of decay, and obviously John carried JonBenet up stiff as a board.
Very stiff. Arms were straight up like
Why?
this. Yeah.
Why would you ask that question?
Because you
just
want to make it seem like you hope she's alive.
Yeah. And just in terms of DNA, which we'll touch on undoubtedly a little later on, it's also very interesting that, if you note the way that John carried her up there, according to all accounts there, he carried her by holding her approximately waist and or waistband, and his DNA, of course, was not found on the long underwear that JonBenet was wearing, and neither was Patsy's, who apparently or obviously dressed her in those long johns. At some point. Totally not found.
So what do you think that means? I mean, if she dressed her, wouldn't her DNA be on there, or what?
It should be. I would think that, unless he was holding JonBenet higher up and not at the
that could be right,
which is possible. But in terms of Patsy Ramsey, if you believe her account that she was dressed in the clothing that she wore to the White's party,
right,
you had to get her out of those clothes and wrestle her into some long underwear, obviously pulling by the waistband.
And so so why wouldn't her DNA be on that? Yeah,
sure. To me, it's just indicative of the issues with the DNA in this case here. It should be there. It's not there, and I've looked at the DNA in terms of what was found there. It's just bewildering to me that this is considered to be some sort of reliable DNA evidence. It just isn't for a plethora of reasons.
The ransom note. All we need to know is if Patsy wrote the note, there was no intruder. Patsy's not going to write a note for the intruder. Okay. I just want to go over a few things that have come up over the years that have since been solved, these little clues, but they still bring them up like it's still a question. Okay, the palm print, and I have an article, and I'll put the link in the description to the article about this, but the palm print, the supposed unidentified palm print, which I think Ashley Banfield has talked about, which again makes me crazy, has been identified. I believe it was Melinda's. Is that correct, Cynic?
That's right. There are 3 palm prints. 2 were identified as belonging to Patsy, and the third one, which was the sort of the mystery one, which wasn't identified initially as quickly as Patsy was, but then ultimately was identified as Melinda, and that's the one that you will see John referring to as this mystery palm print.
The mystery one, and it's been
belong to the intruder.
Yeah, been identified. Again, the boot print, the high tech that belongs to Burke. Cottonstar, am I right? Didn't he say in the grand jury that he did have those boots were his, or am I mistaken?
No, I mean I believe he did tell the grand jury that he wore that he had a pair of high tech boots. I mean it's I believe there's sort of a discussion in one of the interviews in Patsy's 1988 or 1998 interview. Actually, it's the 2000 interview in Atlanta, where they're kind of grilling Patsy over the high-tech shoes. And, they let Patsy know that, that Burke's, stated that, that he owned a pair of high-tech boots. And Burke was even descriptive because he said he liked them because, they had a little navigation or compass on the shoelace, and he said that he liked that because it reminded him of the compass on his dad's airplane. And that's the thing. That's one of the things. That's one thing you've never heard publicly, that Burke owned high-tech boots. Not only that, Fleet White and Fleet White III, told authorities or the grand jury that he had high-tech boots, and the fact that that the Ramseys still to this day will not admit that Burke owned high-tech boots. I mean, they're protected by the grand jury. That they know the grand jury information will probably never get out. But I mean, that was leaked out in one of the interviews, and that's how we know it now. But yeah, I mean, Burke owned high-tech boots, and why not? I mean, he was a Boy Scout. He was a good one. You would think that he probably would own some high-tech boots. But the fact that the Ramseys still to this day, I think that's the bigger clue, will say that no, we didn't own high-tech boots at all in the house. Nobody did. I think that's what you can take from this. What's telling is
they won't admit it. And again, that was leaked information that was printed. Was it by who? I mean, what reporter got
Well,
that
it came up
information?
in the 2000 interviews in Atlanta. Um, um, that they were, telling Patsy, questioning her about the high tech boots, and they basically were saying that, well, this is, we have as a fact, we're stating as a fact, and Lynn Wood, their lawyer at the time was butting in and saying, well, are you stating this as a fact? How do you know this is a fact? And then they really had no choice. They had to let it go, and say that, this is grand jury,
Right.
privileged information that, that Burke said they owned high tech boots.
There you go.
And it's paraphrasing, but that's how it got out. Is and when that interview was released years later,
Mhm.
that's how we found out.
Right. And you guys, believe it or not, we're barely touching on everything. I mean, we're not coming close to touching on everything. We could literally go like 24 hours probably and still not cover everything. And that's why Cynic and Cottonstar, I am so grateful to you both. I mean, right, Stacy? What the hell would we do without them?
Oh
You know?
yeah, they've got everything at their fingertips.
They do. It's absolutely amazing. And yeah, Doug Stein is a witness to Burke's boots. A lot of people saw him, and they even found didn't they find a receipt from a shoe store that was the amount of the high tech boot, or am I mistaken? No, that didn't happen.
No, I don't think
Maybe,
so. And I
maybe
think
it was it's a rope. I think it was a rope I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
At the hardware store.
And the thing is that 100% can we say that the high tech boot mark was left by Burke? No, I mean it could have been left by a law enforcement officer, which is one of the thoughts at the time. But what, like I said, what's telling is that even if it wasn't left by Burke, or it was, the fact that the Ramseys won't admit to this day that he owned high tech boots is what is that's what tells on it.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? The people in chat, I think some of these people are from your channel, Cottonstar. Yes, the cord from McGuckins. Yes, that's what it was. It was a receipt, and it was the right amount of money for the cord, the rope that was used. And we're not even going to get into all of that because we've gone 2 hours now, and we still haven't got them from the night of the when the body was discovered. So we still have a lot to go over here. So let's jump forward again. Ramsey's they did an interview on CNN on New Year's Day, 1997. Why didn't they go in and talk to the police? Well, they'll say they cooperated, but John will say, we went down, we gave hair, we gave fingerprints, we gave DNA. Well, they have to. By law, they had to do that. But they did not do any official interviews until they sat down and had, the conditions for their interviews were absolutely ridiculous. And Burke gave an interview. And you know what? We do have some snippets of Burke's interview. So let's jump to that. And again, I just want to mention about the Ramsey's CNN interview. It was reported that Fleet White got very angry at the Ramseys for talking to the reporters and not talking to the police. And therein began the huge break of the friendship. So any more comments, Cynic, before I bring up Burke's interview?
Just with respect to the high techs, there was an interview with Steve Thomas in the early going, and he echoed the fact that, as Cottonstar mentioned, it could have been from some of the law enforcement and others that were present. The high-tech brand is very popular amongst law enforcement people, so it certainly could have been left by someone there. So Steve noted that there was certainly just no accounting for everyone that happened to be in that room that morning. So he mentioned that. And with respect to what you were thinking of there, in Steve's book, there's one paragraph that says, on a below freezing winter day, I went with Gossage, another detective, to Vail on a tip that a clerk recalled seeing Patsy and JonBenet try on hiking boots at Pepe's Sports in that ski resort town. They might have been high techs, and perhaps, obviously, Patsy could have purchased something for Burke there too. So, anyway.
There you go. And yes, Charisse Armistead. Burke said he felt safe just hours after his sister was killed. It's bizarre. And another just thing I want to mention, I bring this up a lot. You have an intruder that comes in. In the note mentions that they don't respect your business, John Ramsey, and obviously it was so the ransom note was made to look like they were attacking John. And yet they send Burke back to school. Nobody, I mean, nothing. Just send it back to school like nothing. And all they do, all John does is complain about the media. Not about I never hear him get mad at the person that killed JonBenet. I never hear that. But he'll get mad at how the media treated them and how they had to protect Burke from the media. Why aren't they protecting him from the intruder? My God, they already got one kid. You never hear him say, we are terrified to send Burke back to school. You know, we want to keep him out and make him skip a year to make sure he was safe. We are terrified that guy had come. You never hear any of that. And that makes me crazy. But we got to jump ahead, or we will be here until like 8 in the morning. So I want to play some of, and Stacy found these interview clips. Let me grab them. And Stacy, do you have, can you tell us anything about these clips, or you just found them?
They're clips with the police interviewing him after JonBenet was found.
Okay, so was this? But when did this interview take place, Cynic or Cottonstar? Do you know?
I mean, with Burke,
yeah,
like January 8th, 1997, and the other ones were like a year and a half later in June of 98.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, here's one. It's just called The O Moment of Burke Ramsey, and it's 39 seconds long. Let me share this here really quickly. And then we'll get to the Ramseys and the interviews and everything that happened in between if we can. So hang on here. And this is just a 39-second clip. There's Pineapple.
Can you describe that to me?
Something. Okay. It's like glass with a tea bag in it.
Okay, so he's able to identify the tea bag and the glass, but not, it's like he starts to say pineapple, but he doesn't. Cynic, do you want to comment on that real quick? And then Cottonstar will go to you.
He was also very reluctant in the Dr. Phil interview as well. Yeah, it's just he didn't want to go there.
Didn't want to talk about it. Cottonstar, any thoughts before we have a 3-minute clip from his 1998 interview we're going to play right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, you know, if you talk about distancing, you know, I think that he obviously knows that there's something, you know, with the pineapple that he's been told about, you know, because if you listen, I don't know if they show it all in that interview, but he actually goes over every single item.
Mm-hmm.
So he identifies every item: the dining room table,
the
spoon,
right, yeah.
the tea glass, you know, the tea bag in the tea glass. You know, he says every single item, and then when it comes to the pineapple, he just won't say it. So, I mean, it's interesting.
It's very interesting. Okay, this is a 3-minute and 14-second clip from his 1998 interview, and then we'll talk about the Ramsey's interview. Here we go.
What about Christmas Eve when you're going up there?
So he's 2 years older in this interview now, everybody. So, well, almost 2 years, year and a month. Here we go, or between a year and a half and yeah.
Did you guys have a snack before you went to bed that night?
I forget.
What was JonBenet's favorite snack?
I don't think she had a snack. And time before bed.
Okay. Would she ever like a particular thing to eat during the day, for a snack?
Just whatever mom had laid out. Cause she always laid out a snack for after school.
Okay.
So whatever she had ready, I just eat.
And what would a typical snack be?
Pudding or
He's not going to say it, is he?
like leftover pizza or something.
So would there ever be, it sounds like your mom was pretty nutritional,
She wasn't that serious.
wasn't she?
Yeah.
Some moms cut up apples.
Yeah.
What else would she get fruit-wise?
That's all I know. Pineapple.
Pineapple.
Yeah.
You mentioned that once before. Is that kind of a favorite?
Yeah.
of the family?
It's really favorite thing.
Is that probably the most favorite?
Apples or pineapple, probably the two.
Did you ever have any keys that maybe if you got locked out, you could get somewhere? Some people keep keys kind of hidden under something, or out in the yard, or a secret hiding place that they can put a key. If they get locked out.
I don't remember. One time we did get locked out, and there are, this is a giant basement, but there are 2 windows in the basement.
Right here.
Yeah, 2 windows, and my dad had to break the windows and then go around and lock the door. When the doors are locked, you can open them.
There you go. There he is talking about John breaking the window, and I think John admitted that. There is your glass on top of the suitcase. Here we go.
The inside, not the outside. So,
Are you talking about basement windows?
yeah, he broke the basement window, went through there, came up around.
Then let you in.
Yeah, then I think it was the front door.
Were you with him when that happened? When he had to get in that way?
Yeah, I was with him, but I didn't actually go in with him.
No.
I waited.
Okay. You waited where?
I don't know where exactly.
Okay.
It was in the front door of the store.
Okay, so he had to let you in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Wait, I'm not ready. Hang on. Where the heck is it?
Welcome to my scientifically informed insider.
Sorry, I wasn't ready.
That's
yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was trying to find the snippet of the video where he shows how he thinks JonBenet would have been hurt.
Oh.
Anybody have that?
Anybody have that one? Where Burke is talking about how he thinks JonBenet, where he motions like this, with his hand. Does anybody have that video?
Yeah, I have it somewhere. Yeah, but
well, maybe
he was asked, how do you think, she was killed, and he says, I know what happened, and then proceeded to, do the overhand strike.
Right. Let me see if I can find that really quickly, guys. Okay. Hang on here, real quick. Talk amongst yourselves. Stacy, can you read some questions and comments, please?
Yes. Let me see. Dancing Gold 17 says, they didn't have to let Burke be interviewed. What's the answer to that? That they coached him? It doesn't sound like it.
Well, they didn't have a choice to for Burke not to be interviewed the first one because it was a like a service, like I'm not sure what the word is. It was a family services interview to see if that it wasn't a police interview interrogation. It was a I don't know. Cynic will probably tell you better than I can. It was a family services interview. Like to see if Burke was still able to stay in the home.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
He was
like
still
if he was
safe.
safe to remain there,
Right.
or if they had to remove
Exactly.
him. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh shoot, I don't
Now,
have it. I thought I
and
had it.
I was just gonna say with respect to what Burke said there about the window, John certainly never has acknowledged that Burke was with him or anyone was with him. He always made it seem like, well, he was, coming in from out of town. He gave a number of excuses in terms of why he didn't have a key. But, he's, as I say, this story that Burke is telling is not something that John has ever acknowledged.
Right.
Mm.
I do want to play this clip from Dr. Phil. It's just kind of interesting, okay? And then we will move on. And again, guys, believe it or not, we're barely touching the surface. And if you want to know where a lot of this information is coming from, you can get James Kohler's book called A Foreign Faction, Who Kidnapped JonBenet, and Steve Thomas's book. It's just called JonBenet. Both of those books have excellent information, and they come from investigators who were directly involved with the case and saw the evidence. And we'll talk more about Kohler's book here in just a moment, but let me play this. This is just a minute clip from Dr. Phil.
Where were you when that phone call was made?
In my bed.
How do you know?
I don't remember getting up until my dad came in there.
Was Burke in the kitchen when that 911
No.
call was made?
No.
Where was Burke when the 911 call was made?
Well, we checked his bedroom immediately almost in all this chaos, and he was asleep in bed. That is pure fiction.
I was like laying in bed with my eyes open. And so thinking of what might have happened.
Did you hear mom and dad talking?
I heard mom like going psycho.
Going psycho?
Yeah, like all like,
Did you go down and see what was going on?
stay in bed.
Patsy? Patsy?
Kind of interesting there. Yeah, that Dr. Phil interview was like the worst thing ever. Dr. Phil had Lynn Wood as his attorney. He was suing I think it was the Inquirer, for a bunch of really horrible stories that they were writing about Dr. Phil. It was terrible. And so Lynn Wood at one point was an excellent attorney. He was a pit bull until he lost his mind. And Lynn Wood went nuts, everybody. He went literally off the deep end, and he finally agreed to give up his license if they would stop the investigation into his antics. That's a whole other 2-hour show that we could do. But that's why Burke did the Dr. Phil show. I guess they thought it was a good idea to come out and try and explain some things coming upon the 20-year anniversary, and boy, did it backfire. Dr. Phil had to do an extra episode, I believe, or an extra segment trying to explain why Burke seemed so awkward, because it was just bad. Yeah, Linwood actually gave up his license, but he was on the way. He was going to lose it. He was absolutely going to lose it. From what I understand, and you could be right, LKB 728, maybe he did lose it, but he was getting ready to either lose it or he lost it. And he said, hey, stop the investigation. I'll give up my license. He doesn't have his license anymore. So 3rd_ verse. It's so good to see you, my darling. Anyway, yeah. Now, Kelly J, exactly. Wouldn't you ask your kid everything? He never asked Burke why. He never went in and talked to, I mean, come on. You would be like questioning him like with the 3rd degree, right, Cottonstar? If your kid be like, what did you hear? What was going on? You know, anything. Tell us anything. But that's their story. That's their story, that they didn't ask Burke.
I mean, later on, and you know, going back to the very beginning, you know, at the crimes after they found the note, you know, both parents said they didn't go wake up Burke and question him and ask him. I mean, you know, how did Burke not have information? I mean, Burke could have had information, like when the last time he saw JonBenet.
Exactly.
You know, I think it's telling.
It's very telling. And Cynic, your thoughts?
Yes, I think it's indicative of what we've been talking about in terms of Burke being being heard on the 911 call.
Mm-hmm.
Burke was just simply up. He knew what was happening to one degree or another, and he was, I'm sure, told a few things by his, by one or both of his parents, and
Exactly.
that's why, his demeanor was what it was.
Absolutely right. So, let's go to the Ramsey's interview in 1997, and Cynic, why don't you kind of give us a just kind of the best rundown you can over those interviews?
Well, for one thing, it took a long time to get there.
Mm-hmm.
The police tried and tried, and the Ramseys and their attorneys kept laying down conditions for a formal interview, some of which were just completely outrageous, and the back and forth went on for obviously 4 months. The interview took place April the 30th. It wasn't an ideal interview either, because the Ramseys were allowed to see their previous statements and a number of police reports prior to that interview, which is quite outrageous, really, and obviously gave the Ramseys a considerable advantage in terms of strategy as far as answering questions is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, it was better than nothing, but
it was almost nothing.
Yeah, it was under less than ideal circumstances, clearly. In terms of what came out of the interviews, it really is best just to simply go through it, because and one of the suggestions I've made in the past too is that people should go through all three of the interviews in the 1997, 1998, and the 2000 interviews with them, and they could see for themselves some of the inconsistencies. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that that struck James Kohler as he was looking through the case file and looking at the case from a initially neutral standpoint, and then ultimately reaching the conclusion that he did. And it was based on some of the inconsistencies that he saw, and people can see for themselves the inconsistencies that are, I believe, and I think, and I've seen for myself, quite evident.
And where can we find these interviews?
Candy Rose is one easy place to find them. And just a note with regard to people that visit the candyrose.com website, you will get a warning, and it's, you might even, possibly depending on what you have in terms of security, a software on your computer, it might trigger something like that, but it relates to an outdated certificate. So don't be afraid. Just go through the process of clicking, that I agree to go to this website and so on. There's no risk. It's just a,
you know what, I need to,
issue.
A Candy Rose passed away, and nobody had access to our website, and it went down. So I called, it was Network Solutions. I called them and I said, can I pay for it? I said, I don't have a password. I don't have access to the email, but I'll pay for it if you'll put it back up. And so they did. Yeah, it says your connection is not private. If that's all it is to pay for a certificate, I'll call and see if Network Solutions will let me pay for that. Because, yeah, I'm just heading to that right now and proceed to a Candy. Yeah, it looks terrible.
Yeah,
but, okay,
it looks like you're about to get smoked with every
Yeah.
virus known to mankind. But that's
exactly.
not the case.
And that's not the case. But it's kind of hard to navigate too. Let's see. I'm trying to find the actual interviews here. Oh boy.
It's best just to Google a Candy Rose and interviews with John and Patsy Ramsey,
Okay.
or some search like that.
Let me
And that way,
candyrose.com plus police, maybe police interviews.
Yeah, I can try going there myself.
Yeah, Cottonstar has the information in case I get hit by a bus, so he can take care of a Candy Rose if something happens. Here it is. I found it here. Yeah. Okay. There's the interviews are right here. Let me put the link in chat. Okay. And
yeah, the site on its own can be confusing to navigate.
Yeah.
So you're probably best to go with Google searches. Just include candyrose.com as a URL and include whatever search that you're looking for, and it's best to go that route.
Right.
If you go there a lot, you will find it not quite as intimidating, but it's sort of, if it's your initial trip or two to the County Rose, it can be rough.
You know what? I will call Network Solutions tomorrow. Maybe I can call them tonight when we get done and just have them. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Hold on, because we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, Kevin. Okay, so hang on. So that's where you can go and read the actual interviews, people. Is on candyrose.com. I'll put the links in the description, but there are so many discrepancies. We can't even begin to go over them tonight. And the thing is, and again, this is going really long, I don't want to overwhelm people, because there comes a point where your eyeballs start rolling in the back of your head like a slot machine, at least mine do. So I do want to stick to, well, not stick to, but kind of delve into the stuff that's been publicly talked about that everybody points to now. Okay. And I'll tell you what, so we'll put a link to the interviews there, and maybe one night, Cynic and Cottonstar, we can go through the interviews here. Or that'll take like 5 hours, but and just there are so many inconsistencies, you guys. It's almost funny that it's so bad. And if you get James Kohler's book, A Foreign Faction, he goes over it beautifully, just beautifully. Real quick, I want to touch on the taser, and then I want to go to Mary Lacey's letter, and then we'll go to the DNA, and then we'll wrap it up with the ransom note. Okay, so let's talk about the taser. The manufacturer of the taser, Lou Smith, said that there was a taser, that she was tased. The manufacturer of the taser said, no, she wasn't. Those marks they are not taser marks. She was not tased. Okay. In James Kohler's book, he was able to prove that JonBenet was laying on, you know what, Cynic or Cottonstar, could one of you explain it? Because you guys do it so much better than I do, about what James Kohler said in his book about the train tracks making the marks that Lou Smith said were the taser. And I'm sorry, we're going to go over to the grand jury real quick and just show that they had all the evidence and on both sides, and they still decided that they were indicted. But Cynic, do you want to go over what was said in James Kohler's book, and then Cottonstar, I'll go to you.
Well, I'll touch on the taser aspect, and if Cottonstar wishes to go over the train track aspect of it, or I can. But anyway, I will. The taser issue is one of my favorites because to me it's just so preposterous. Especially statements such as a taser will incapacitate or immobilize or cause someone to go unconscious. These are statements that are just completely at odds with the reality of what a taser can do. And just to be clear, a taser such as the one that was proposed by Lou Smith has two modes. One is I'm sure many of us or all of us have seen some sort of news coverage of somebody being tased, and the taser is used in the mode in which two prongs come out. They hit the person, and the person just drops like a sack of potatoes. So there's that aspect, and there's also, if you remove the front cartridge from a taser, it can then be used to simply contact a person. So you push that taser up against whatever body part of the person, and in that mode, it really is. I believe Steve Tuttle, the former vice president of Taser Incorporated, said it really is just a pain compliance device. It causes pain, And one of the examples that he gave is something like let's say a curling iron.
Mhm.
That would be in terms of if you don't have a taser and if you wish to simulate what what really a taser in that mode does, just take a curling iron and let it heat up and put it up against somebody. It's going to cause pain. They're going to jump
Right.
away. They're still going to be able to scream, talk. They're
Mhm.
not going to go unconscious. That's probably the best comparison I could possibly give, and it's something that, as I say, the former vice president also implied. He said that he has never seen in all of the history of taser use that this device would cause somebody to lose consciousness, as has been put forward by people like Lou Smith and others. It's just, as I say, it's one of my favorite things about the intruder theory, because it's so utterly preposterous and easily proven to be wrong. And it's something that James Kohler acknowledged, and he then started to look around for another possibility of what caused the marks that were seen on JonBenet. And ultimately, he fell on the theory that it could have been the old gauge train tracks
Mhm.
that Burke was playing with, and were found at a few different places in the house, including the train room. And
Gotcha.
so he proposed the theory that the middle prong was missing on the train track, and
Mhm.
its two outside prongs were then pressed against JonBenet and caused the abrasions that were found on her back.
Okay. That makes more sense than well, it absolutely was not a taser, people. It just wasn't. So please know that. Please know it was not a taser.
And
And
even if James is wrong in his hypothesis, that still doesn't mean that that a taser was involved. Taser is out of the question. So then it's just a matter of what else could it be, and
Mhm.
that's
And there you
James's
go.
theory.
And Cottonstar, do you have anything to add to that, my dear? I
I
mean,
mean,
that's
yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
just ridiculous. I mean, it was the stun gun theory is so ridiculous that I mean, it's sad that we actually have to talk about it. That's how
Mhm.
ridiculous it is. But yeah, I mean, I think a better hypothesis was put forward by James Kohler, and quite frankly, um, they actually were, matched. I mean, the prongs on the O
Yes.
gauge actually matched
The
way
marks.
closer than the stun gun marks would have. So
Exactly. And again, this is all to do with the intruder theory, and we're not gonna spend a lot of time on it, but we wanna stress that this was a very rare occasion that the defense was allowed to present their side in a grand jury. Rarely does that happen. Now, if you ask John Ramsey, like I have 2 times, he will lie to you and say, "Well, you know what they say about a grand jury? They can indict a ham sandwich." And then when you remind him, "Mr. Ramsey, your people, Lou Smith was allowed to testify. John Douglas was allowed to testify. I think there was somebody else allowed to testify to present the intruder theory. They presented the top notch evidence they had of an intruder theory. And guess what? The grand jury still indicted. But if you ask John Ramsey about it, he will never tell you that Lou Smith was allowed to testify and present the intruder theory. He will lie, and he's done it to me twice, where he says, yeah, you only get to hear one side of it. And then when you bring up the fact that, well, that's not true, then he'll just say something ridiculous like, well, they were just in a hurry to get home, so they voted. And I want to show you one. There's so much evidence against the intruder, but this is to me is the best one. Hold on, sorry. Okay, now there are pictures of spider webs that are not broken. There are pictures of debris and leaves on that windowsill that are not touched. Look at Lou Smith coming in there, and pardon my language, but dragging his ass right through that windowsill. I mean, it would disturb the dirt. It would break the spider webs. It would do all of that if an intruder came in. There was no intruder. And if he'd have stepped on that suitcase, it would have just tipped over because it had like a little blanket in it. It's so stupid. But that was the best they had, and they brought it to the grand jury, and they still indicted the Ramseys. And we've read the indictment a million times. And what happened was the Alex Hunter, the DA, decided not to charge them. And so that's why there was no charge. Okay, now I found that link or that clip of Burke talking about what happened to his sister. Okay, I'm going to grab it here, and it's real quick. And let's see, is this it? Let's see. Yeah, this is it right here. It's just 20 seconds long. This is from January 1997. Okay, so pay close attention. Here we go. Did you hear that? Had a hammer and hit her on the head with it. I'm going to play that again real quick. And if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see that that's where he has the wording there. So there you go. Okay, now let's move forward to the Mary Lacy letter. And then we're going to get to the DNA. And then we're going to do Mary Lacy letter, John Mark Carr, the DNA, and then we'll wrap it up again with the ransom note. And Cottonstar and Cynic, if I forget anything, please jump in. Don't hesitate to jump in, okay? Because again, we're just barely touching the surface here of all of this information. Okay, so the letter that Mary Lacy wrote, it is ridiculous. It apologized to the Ramseys and said that Patsy Ramsey and the Ramseys were innocent, is basically what it said. This was written after Patsy died. Now, the police, the Boulder Police Department, is different than the Boulder DA's office. And Ashley Banfield gave us a little speech, and I'm not even going to play it, that said, do your research, people. The police have apologized to John Ramsey, and they have cleared John Ramsey. That is not true. They haven't cleared any Ramsey. They have cleared, however, Chris Wolf, who John Ramsey brought up last October 2024 in Ashley Banfield and said, he needs to be looked at again. He knows that Chris Wolf has absolutely been cleared by the police, 100%. Okay, so Cynic, and then we'll go to you, Cottonstar. And again, I'm not going to read the whole letter. I'll put a link up in the description where you can go read it, but it's so ridiculous. I don't even want to give it any sort of, of air. But basically, she came out and said that the DNA cleared the Ramseys. Now, Cynic, can you explain why that was not true at all at the time? And did Mary Lacy not understand the DNA, or was she not telling the truth? A couple of questions there.
Well, I think it was spelled out pretty clearly, so it's hard to imagine she didn't understand.
Right. Yeah, I think she was lying. I'm just going to come out and say I think she was just lying because she wanted to clear the Ramseys. And I guess she never thought that people would be smart enough to figure it out. So, and I'm going to play a clip after you're done here of Stan Garnett talking, and he was the next DA. He whipped her ass in the elections, and he was the next DA that took over, and he talks about this so-called letter of exoneration. And again, everybody, if that was a real letter of exoneration, everywhere John Ramsey would go, he'd hold it up and say, we've been exonerated. They've apologized. They said we didn't do it. That's all he would talk about. But you never hear it because he knows it's just bull. So I'm sorry, Cynic, go ahead.
Yes, what happened with respect to what Mary Lacy was using to clear / exonerate the Ramseys was that Bodie Labs did some touch DNA analysis on some of the things from the crime scene. Included in that were the long underwear and a few other things. But with respect to the long underwear in particular, what they did was there was a process involving, essentially it's like a razor scraping of the fabric. So the scrapings were taken from both the right and left interior and exterior of the long underwear that JonBenet was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And what was found there was clear evidence that there was not only JonBenet's DNA that was found in the profile, which is to be expected. She was wearing this item, but it was also abundantly clear that not one, but two or more males were involved in leaving a biological sample on through touch on that long underwear.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. 2 males DNA was on that long underwear, not
2 or more.
2 or more. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And the reason I'm specifying touch DNA is because there was no stain there, so we can assume that it was only through handling. If a sample is obtained, if DNA is derived from a sample obtained in that manner, then it was through touch, so skin cells.
Okay, gotcha.
So clearly, and this was indicated in the reports from Bodie Labs, but Mary Lacy, because there was consistency between the profile that was obtained there and the CODIS profile, which was uploaded in 2003 to the CODIS national database. So she sort of struck upon the fact that, okay, I see that there's consistency between what was obtained through touch DNA on the long underwear and this CODIS sample. So there you go. There was an intruder, and that's that. And she just completely dismissed the fact that 2 or more people must have handled that long underwear, and these were males.
So let me just stop you. So in other words, if you're going to use one male DNA, you got to use everybody's, because you can't date when it was put there. You can't date it. You can't say, well, this belongs to the intruder and these other 2 profiles don't. I mean, it's ridiculous, right?
Right. And I don't know if you have those pictures that I sent you with respect to the other things that were noted in James Kohler's book, that there were multiple individuals must have left DNA on various things. People talk about, and you hear this in interview after interview, well, they never tested the garrote, or what happened with the garrote. Well, the ligature was tested, and there was a DNA profile obtained that was completely inconsistent with the profile, for example, that was uploaded to CODIS. And James Kohler outlines all the different things that were found, and the fact that there must have been 6 males and a female involved, as far as what the evidence shows, and the DNA that was examined from these particular items from the crime scene. So you can't. Not only was Mary Lacy dismissive of what was found on the long underwear, but later on we find that you have to then, if that's what you're looking at, how do you explain all the other unexplained DNA that was found on various other articles in and around JonBenet?
Do you have that email handy that you could just send it to me again real quick, or is it not handy?
Yeah, I could get it to you in a few minutes, I think.
Okay. And while we're doing that, Cottonstar, your thoughts on the Mary Lacy letter?
Well, I think people just need to, I mean, as anybody looking into this case, they probably Google it,
Mm-hmm.
were the Ramseys cleared, and then they'll see all the stories that say, oh, Mary Lacey, da 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 da, and that's what they just run with. But you have to know the history of the case. You have to know, the minutia of what went on during those times, who was in charge. You really have to get involved to actually know the reason why Mary Lacey actually did this. She was a intruder theorist from day one,
Mm-hmm.
and she tried to, her actions with John Mark Carr and that whole fiasco, knowing that, that there's no way that he could have done it. What's interesting is up until John Mark Carr, nobody talked about the Ramsey DNA. Nobody.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
the DNA, nobody talked about it because, and now it's always been the same. It's always been the same. It's always
Right.
been there, right? But
Right.
it wasn't a big deal because it was so minute. It was degraded. It wasn't a big deal. But what the John Mark Carr fiasco did do was, it is almost by design if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they brought him over from Thailand, um, even though none of the crime scene matched up with what he was saying or anything like that, but as soon as like they could say, "Oh well, his DNA didn't match, so therefore he didn't do it," and now all of a sudden it's a DNA case.
Yeah,
You see
exactly.
the
Right.
magic. And so ever since then, it's been okay. Well, the DNA didn't match, and all of a sudden it's a DNA case. That's where like the switch happened, and it's never been a DNA case. It's always been a circumstantial evidence
Mm-hmm.
case. Still is, and now that's what it's. That's all you hear about. That's the only evidence you ever hear about of the Ramsey case. Now you don't hear about the ransom note
It's
or any of
ridiculous.
the things that we talked about tonight. You always hear about, well, the DNA, which people don't understand in this case.
And I want to bring up what Criminal Network said. Sarah, the fact remains that a foreign male DNA was recovered that did not belong to any of the Ramseys. So explain that DNA. Well, again, it's touch DNA. If you took my clothes off now and did a search of DNA, you would find other profiles on here. Because I've been out, I've been to the store, you're going to find it. JonBenet was at a party the night before. There's going to be all of that, microscopic skin cells. This isn't blood or saliva, people. That's why touch DNA is so misleading, in my opinion, as a non-DNA expert. It's just easy to understand when you understand that this is not a DNA case. If it was, they have the ability now to do the DNA and find the person that it belongs to. It doesn't belong. It's a mixture. Oh my God. Cottonstar, can you take on this Criminal Network comment, please?
I mean,
Is it? Yeah.
CODIS is lying. I mean, what is CODIS? I mean, CODIS is lying. What is CODIS? I mean, CODIS hasn't identified anybody. And in fact,
Right.
if you want to talk about really getting a break in this case, I mean, that the DNA that they're talking about that was put into CODIS was actually 9 markers, which wasn't, eligible to be, put into CODIS. And somehow, some way, I mean, they did some magic and guesswork, in my opinion, to get the 10th marker just good enough to actually so they could put it into CODIS. Now that's just my opinion. So the 10th marker is a weak marker, and therefore, I mean that may be one of the reasons why all these years later, I mean, it was put into CODIS in 2003, so it was 22 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe one of the reasons why there's never been a hit, because not only is it more than one person, I mean,
Yeah.
that just the profile is junk.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, I'm going to put that. Ping sent me this picture. And guys, this is absolutely amazing. I'm going to put this up here. And Ping, did I say Ping? Sorry. Cynic. Sorry, I was looking at a note from Ping. Cynic sent me this picture. Okay, and let me add it here. Everybody's
There's
going ping.
two.
Oh, there's two. Okay. Everyone's going ping. What does ping have to do with it? Yeah, I've got both of them here. Hang on just a second here. Okay. Where did it go? Is it there? Oh, come on. Where is it? Screenshot? No. Oh, no. Come on. Come on. I've got it here.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Okay. Here's one. Let me add that. Open. Okay, hang on here. Let me get rid of. Whoops, that's not the one I wanted. Yikes. Okay, and then the other one. Open. Okay, let's see. Should I put this? Is this the one we want to do first, or we want to do the other one first?
Maybe the one with the that one's either one. Yeah, that one's good.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead and explain this, please.
Okay, well, the next picture does do a fair bit of explaining, but just
Okay,
so
well, here we
people have
go.
an idea of where, what we're talking about here when we're referring to things. So, when we're talking about profiles from things found in and on JonBenet's body. So, as you see on the left, on JonBenet's right hand, on the fingernails, there's an unidentified female. Just call her female 1,
Okay.
and an unidentified male 1. Moving to the other hand, so JonBenet's left hand, there's on the fingernails, unidentified male 2. Then on the long underwear and just the plain underwear on JonBenet, from those particular locations where the arrows point to, so the leg bands, waistband, and the waistband, we have unidentified male 3. And also the blood spot, there's a blood spot on JonBenet's underwear from which the CODIS, the primary 2003 CODIS profile was uploaded. That's included in male number 3.
Okay.
Male number 4, we have the ligature on the wrist. And unidentified male number 5, also from the ligature. So 2 different profiles on the ligature itself, some from the fingernails, and as is noted there on the underwear. And then if you switch to the next picture, most of this
this one's a little hard to read.
Yeah, I'll just read it.
Okay.
So there are 6 unique and unidentified genetic profiles, 5 male profiles and 1 female. Fingernail scrapings from both hands reveal JonBenet's genetic profile on both sides. In addition to JonBenet's profile, scrapings from the left fingernails revealed unidentified male 1. The right indicated that 2 further unique profiles were present, unidentified male 2, and an unknown female profile. JonBenet could not be excluded as a contributor to that particular profile. The crotch of the panties, distal stain 07-2, revealed a profile 10 loci. And just as a reminder for people, that's 13 would be a full profile. And as Cottonstar mentioned, initially it was 9 that were found, and they did some enhancements and they were able to get to 10th, and you need 10 to submit as a partial profile. So anyway, that has been entered into the CODIS database, unidentified male number 3. And then we go to the trace DNA, in other words, skin cells testing. All previously done at the Bodie facility revealed 1 matching profile and a further 2 unique profiles. Both male, the waistband and leg bands of the panties match the profile that has been entered into the CODIS database, unidentified male number 3. Wrist bindings, male number 4 was pretty low level profile, only 6 loci. And the garrote was a 7 loci profile, also quite weak. Just as a note, touch DNA on the pink Barbie nightgown found in the wine cellar with the body of JonBenet was identified as belonging to Burke and Patsy.
There you go. There you go. So, I mean, again, when it gets down to it, my friends, Mary Lacey did not tell the truth. And I want to play one other clip. And that to me, thank you, Cynic. That is such a great explanation of how this works. I'm going to play one clip from the Dan Caplis radio show with Stan Garnett, basically saying that, hey, what Mary Lacey wrote, it doesn't mean anything. And I want to remind you again, if that exoneration by Mary Lacey meant anything, John Ramsey, I swear to God, would have it stapled to his forehead permanently. And that's all he would talk about. But even he knows that it means nothing. So let me share this right now. We played this the other night, but just for those that weren't here, I want you guys to see it. Here we go.
Stan, your reaction?
Stan Garnett is the DA that, like I said, kicked Mary Lacey out of office, and I think this was in 2010. Here we go.
Well, as I've said many times, you can't be involved in political life or public
And he's talking about the reaction to Mary Lacey's letter.
life in Boulder County if you don't want to accept the fact that people have a lot of opinions about different things. Mr. Wood is entitled to his opinion. He clearly has one. And, I don't know that I have much more to say than that. As I told Brad when he was asking me about coming on today, I said, I'm happy to come on, but I don't have anything to say beyond what I said when I was on a couple of weeks ago, which is, shortly after I took over, I returned the case to the Boulder Police. I did that for a number of reasons. I did it after I was satisfied that both the Boulder Police have the investigative capacity to continue to work on the Ramsey case, and also satisfied myself that there was no bias that would interfere with the investigation. That's my view of it. Mr. Wood has a different view, and he's entitled to his opinion.
Right, but Mark Beckner, who was a commander back then in December 1997 when he said the Ramseys were under an umbrella of suspicion, now he's the Boulder police chief. You turned the case back over to him. Can you see why the Ramseys would be concerned that the man who said they were under the umbrella of suspicion is once again in charge of the investigation?
Well, Craig, as I've said from the get-go with the Ramsey case, it's the evidence that will determine what, if anything, my office ever does with the Ramsey case. We have a number of cold cases that are being investigated. Some of them are being reviewed for charges. There was quite a backlog of them when I took over the office. The Ramsey case is not being reviewed for charges, but it is an open investigation, and the Boulder Police Department is handling the case, and I have confidence that they're doing it fairly.
Stan Garnett, our special guest Boulder District Attorney. And Stan, so it would be fair to say then that Mary Lacey's clearing of the Ramseys is no longer in effect. You're not bound by that. You're just going to follow the evidence wherever it leads.
Well, what I've always said about Mary Lacey's exoneration that was issued in June of 2008, or July, I guess, a few months before I took over, is that it speaks for itself. I've made it clear that any decisions made going forward about the Ramsey case will be made based off of evidence, and anybody with information or evidence that they think relates to the Ramsey case should provide that to the Boulder Police Department. I know that my office gets 2 to 3 active tips a week. Some of them are from people that probably don't have useful information. Some of them may have useful information. We forward all of that to the Boulder Police, and if they ever think they have developed a case or evidence, then we will take a look at that and decide if charges can be filed.
And Stan, for the many in the audience who aren't actively involved in the practice of law, when you say that the exoneration speaks for itself, are you saying that it's Mary Lacey taking action, that action, and this I think would help clarify for folks in the audience, that action doesn't have any particular legally binding effect? It may cause complications if there's ever a prosecution of a Ramsey down the road, but it doesn't have a legally binding effect on you. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I think that's what most of the press related about the exoneration at the time that it was issued.
Here's another interesting thing Linwood had to say. He said Burke Ramsey has cooperated.
Okay, then that just goes into more about the case. But that was it about the letter. Okay, I want to play one more thing. This is Mary Lacey. Now remember, Mary Lacey wrote this letter and exonerated the Ramseys. There was no trial. The police didn't know about it. This surprised the cops as much as anything. But let's look at what Mary Lacey had to say about people being exonerated.
Terms out there, umbrella of suspicion, we don't use that. You know, no one is really cleared of a homicide until there's a conviction in court beyond a reasonable doubt. And I don't think you will get any prosecutor, unless they were present with the person at the time of the crime, to clear someone where, like in this case, the facts are so strange. And, you know, obviously the family was in the house at the time.
What, whoa, wait. I gotta play that again. I'm confused. Let me hear that again. I'm so confused.
Terms out there, umbrella of suspicion, we don't use that. You know, no one is really cleared of a homicide until there's a conviction in court beyond a reasonable doubt.
No one is cleared of a homicide unless there is a conviction in court beyond a reasonable doubt. She's just an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but she's just an idiot. That's all I can say.
Mean, you know, she also said, you know, unless a prosecutor was there at the time of the murder. Well, I mean, is she admitting that she was at the crime scene? I mean, you know, that's how ridiculous it is. And even so, like, even if she did exonerate them, it's not law binding. I mean, until something goes to court and it is, decided in court if someone is guilty or innocent. I mean, that's the only thing that, can determine someone's guilt or innocence.
Exactly. Okay, I want to talk about John Mark Carr, and the only reason why we're bringing him up is because that stupid Netflix documentary, and it was stupid. And Stacy, that's your buddy that made that. What was his name? The director, your friend?
Oh, Joe Berlinger.
Yeah, you guys are like this. You're close. You're just two peas in a pod. Joe Berlinger. And I used to like his stuff, but a simple Google search would have shown that what they were saying in that docuseries or documentary was just it was ridiculously wrong. Okay, John Mark Carr was created by a guy named Professor Michael Tracy. All right, and he started communicating with him, and then he sent their communications to Mary Lacey, who got all excited, sent her detectives over to Thailand and arrested him and brought him back and arrested him when he got here for the murder of JonBenet. I'm not quite sure if those were the charges, but she was all excited. They had this big press conference. They didn't say anything in the press conference. It was embarrassing because she couldn't say why really she arrested him, other than supposedly he knew things that only the killer would know. Well, no, he didn't. Michael Tracy was feeding him information, okay? And I said back then, because now all of a sudden the DNA is clearing everybody. And I said, he'll be cleared because the DNA is not going to match. And oh God, the letters I got were just nasty. And I said, it's not going to match, guys. He's going to be let go. And you know what Mary Lacey didn't do? And I found this out when we had Carol McKinley on a few months ago, the reporter. Mary Lacey never bothered to check to see if John Mark Carr was in Colorado at the time. All she needed to do was have one of her investigators call his family, and they would say unequivocally, without a doubt, he was with them during the Christmas holiday on the 25th and 26th. I believe it was in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't anywhere near Boulder, but she never did that. Not until after she brought him back and then arrested him. And then, of course, the DNA came back and it didn't match. But, and this is one thing that I'm really proud of, you guys, and I know I've played this a lot, and you'll have to indulge me a little bit, but when the John Mark Carr thing happened, we had a person in Scotland who saw a video, a documentary that Michael Tracy had produced and had sold in Great Britain. It hadn't sold yet here in the United States. And it was this big thing that it talked about Mr. X. Mr. X was a suspect in the JonBenet Ramsey case. Mr. X had gone underground. Mr. X, the investigators, now he didn't say the DA investigators, He just said the investigators are trying to find him. Well, it was the private investigators. Well, one of our alert viewers in Scotland took a picture, a still shot, of an arrest report that they had of Mr. X, this violent man who had to be looked at, who was probably the killer of JonBenet. And they blacked everything out except for the arrest record number. They sent it to me. I didn't do anything, but other than look up that number, boom, I got the guy's name. With a few seconds, I found him in a Google search, and I called him, and I said, this is going to be the weirdest phone call, mister, you've ever got in your life. His name was Stephen Gigax. I said he was being accused of killing JonBenet on a documentary that was being played in Great Britain. They were trying to sell it to the U.S. market. Well, we came out with a press release showing that this guy was not underground. I talked to, I think, Bennett in the DA's office. I said, are you looking for Stephen Gigax? And they went, no, he's not a suspect. And Stephen Gigax was able to prove he was not in Boulder at the time of JonBenet's killing. So we put out a big press release about it, and they were not able to sell that documentary here in the U.S., but nobody said a word about it, okay? Now, this was actually, I take it back, this was before John Mark Carr. This just happened independently in 2006, all right? We put out this big press release about Michael Tracy. This was not on WebSleuths. It was on a forum called Forums for Justice. And I waited for the phone calls to come in from the media because we had exposed Michael Tracy as a liar. We had shown that this documentary that he was showing in Europe was completely full of crap. We had a statement from the DA's office. Nobody called. Nobody called. And then John Mark Carr happened. And finally, a guy named, I think it's Tony Ortega, called me. And he said, I just found your press release about Michael Tracy. And I said, yeah, it happened a couple of years ago. And he says, anybody else called you about this? And I said, no, because during John Mark Carr, Michael Tracy was a big part of that. You know, he was at the press conference, and he was talking about the communication between him and John Mark Carr and how John Mark Carr was the suspect. Well, we had proven 2 years earlier that Michael Tracy just whipped up a suspect out of thin air. But nobody paid attention until Tony Ortega, 2 years later, when John Mark Carr happened. I apologize. I think I got the timeline wrong in the beginning there. When John Mark Carr happened and he called us, and then I was on like media all over the place telling my story about Michael Tracy. And Geraldo did this clip, this story about it. And again, I didn't do anything. All I did was type in a number. It was that wonderful person in Great Britain who was able to find the that took that screenshot and was able to show that the guy's name was Stephen Gigax. I just had it up here. This is what I hate. I swear to God, I pull something up and then all of a sudden YouTube just decides to delete it. It can't be me. It's not operator error, people. I know that's what you're thinking. It's operator error. But Stacy, it is never operator error, is it? Never.
Oh, never.
Never. Don't ever think it's operator error. No. Okay, now where is it? It's my... oh, good Lord. I just had it. Is this it? Let's see. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So I'm going to play this, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the DNA. We're going to circle back to the ransom note, and then we will be done for the night. And again, we have barely scratched the surface. So here we go. This is from 2006, Michael Tracy exposed for lying about suspect in JonBenet Ramsey case. Here we go. I take it back. It was 2004 that we exposed Michael Tracy, and then 2006 is when John Mark Carr happened. Sorry, guys. It's late. It's very late. So here we go.
First courtroom appearance. We have been investigating the man behind Carr's Bangkok arrest, and we've uncovered something that we feel is deeply disturbing. Laura Engel has our exclusive investigative report.
My name is JonBenet Ramsey, and I'm 5 minutes.
Tracy is the University of Colorado professor and documentarian who brought John Mark Carr to the attention of the Boulder District Attorney. But now, startling revelations that this is not the first prime suspect that Michael Tracy has named.
I started getting these weird emails saying, did you know that you're being named as a suspect in the JonBenet Ramsey murder case?
In a world exclusive, meet Steve Gigax, the man who Michael Tracy first claimed killed JonBenet Ramsey. Did you have anything to do with the murder of JonBenet Ramsey?
No, I did not.
Blonde hair, green eyes.
Michael Tracy made these apparently untrue claims in this 2004 documentary he co-produced called Who Killed the Beauty Queen? The Prime Suspect.
Here we go. Michael Tracy's at it again.
These are disturbing facts about the respected professor, facts that could cast even more doubt on the validity of the case against John Mark Carr.
He has been known in the past to produce out-and-out lies about supposed prime suspects in the case that were not prime suspects at all. Thanks a lot.
Tricia Griffith runs Forums for Justice, an online JonBenet Ramsey blog based in Salt Lake City. Griffith says she was the first to scrutinize the accusations made by Michael Tracy in his 2004 documentary, which was broadcast in Britain.
In this documentary, he talks about this prime suspect who's a very dangerous man.
The documentary shows a document on screen purported to be a police record of this prime suspect with his name and address blacked out. But an alert viewer in Scotland took a screenshot of a case number in the corner of the police document and sent it to Griffith. Griffith did some online research and found that the document corresponded to a person named John Stephen Gigax. The documentary called this suspect a man, quote, who has since disappeared. But Griffith says she was able to find his phone number without leaving her chair.
I found John Stephen Gigax with a Google search in a few minutes. So obviously I'm not an investigator and I was able to do it. There is Michael Tracy's first big lie.
Tricia Griffith called Steve Gigax.
It was like a nightmare. This can't be happening. I wanted to get it stopped.
Gigax was no angel. He admits he served time for attempted sexual assault and menacing with a deadly weapon. But he says he's also no killer. And in 2004, he says he called Tom Bennett in the Boulder District Attorney's office to prove he was not even in Boulder at the time of the murder.
And I sent him some records that I had of signed credit card receipts for purchases at Sears at the time. When I've been in Indiana.
Did he tell you you are not a suspect?
He said, don't worry about it. I'm not a suspect. They don't want to talk to me.
Due to a gag order, the district attorney's office is not able to comment on Steve Gigax's story. But Fox News correspondent Carol McKinley, who has covered this case from the beginning, confirms it.
But as far as for the official investigation, he was never a suspect.
When we asked Michael Tracy for a comment on our story, he refused to go on camera for an interview, but he did offer a statement through a spokesperson. Quote, I'm a great believer in rational debate, not a shouting match on Fox TV. People have every right to disagree with me. I have no problem with that. Still, Steve Gigax tells us there is nothing Michael Tracy could say that would fix the effects of his claims in the 2004 documentary.
People showed up at the house, reporters and all kinds of stuff. I couldn't even go back to work. I just couldn't do it.
If Michael Tracy fingered the wrong suspect in 2004, Tricia Griffith wonders if he's doing it again by bringing John Mark Carr to the attention of the current Boulder District Attorney, Mary Lacey.
Apparently she takes his phone calls. There's something wrong about that. This man has lied in the past, and who knows what he's doing now.
Here in Boulder, Colorado, friends of Michael Tracy say he's just a regular guy and likes to hang out here at this local pub on Friday nights. He's often joined here by his friend, newspaper journalist Michael Sandrock. The newsman defends Tracy's documentary.
And I think he really does want to see the case solved. And the fact that he's doing documentaries, I think is a good thing. And whether he's right or not, I can't really say.
But that's little solace to Steve Gigax. He is suffering from a heart condition and hepatitis C. And with his waning health, there is nothing more he wants than to counteract the effects of Michael Tracy's film.
I want the world to know that I'm 100% innocent of that. And I just want the world to know and move on.
And Geraldo, this case is moving on in a completely different direction today. The public defender has announced that the DA in this case has decided not to file charges against John Mark Carr. This decision coming today, just hours before John Mark Carr's first initial court appearance was set to take place. The motion to dismiss charges came in a 5-page document outlining 24 reasons why the DA, Mary Lacey, came to this decision today. The main reason is that the DNA that was taken from John Mark Carr last week does not match any DNA evidence found at the crime scene at the home of JonBenet Ramsey. This murder taking place, of course, back in 1996. DNA testing happening just last week. And apparently they have been sitting on this information that the DNA did not match. And we will have more for you coming up later in the show. There are more developments ahead. Geraldo?
Laura.
Okay. So there you go, guys. Yeah, I did change my jacket. I had to. The other one was too hot. I was starting to melt. My hair's gone straight. My face is starting to melt. So I had to change into something a little more comfortable. But anyway, I hope I didn't screw up that introduction. Did it make sense, everybody? I hope. If it didn't, tell me. Okay. Okay, so now we've covered John Mark Carr. And what really irritates me about this is why in the world did your buddy, Joe Berlinger, Stacy, whatever the hell his name is, why did he use Michael Tracy in his docuseries, in his documentary on Netflix? The guy is a liar. We proved it. He made up Stephen Gigax, you know?
I think I should email him some information.
Well, I mean, you guys are doing dinner like tomorrow, so you should find out what the hell. So anyway, I just, it really, really upsets me. And the fact that Michael Tracy is getting, again, how hard would it have been to have the researchers for that docuseries find this information and realize that Michael Tracy is not somebody to be trusted? And why in the hell did they dangle John Mark Carr at the end of that Netflix docuseries? It was ridiculous. He is not a suspect. He was not even there. All they needed to do was a couple of Google searches. They would have found out that information, but they didn't, because it didn't fit their narrative, which John Ramsey, in my opinion, was the one controlling the strings behind that docuseries, and it was shameful, absolutely shameful. Cynic and Cottonstar. Cynic, are you with us still, my darling?
Yes.
And Cottonstar, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Good. Okay, great. Not there. I don't know what that says. Not there yet. Not there yet. No clearing up of the triggering pineapple, but time to draft a 3-page rambling letter to implicate the Ramseys. It makes no sense. There you go. There you go. That's perfect. That's exactly what we should do. Okay, real quick. Let's just briefly go over the DNA one more time. And let me make sure I've got this right. The DNA. Oh, please go for it, Cynic. Go for it.
Just a quick note. I had, even though I came up with this by looking at all of the DNA that I have access to, but I decided, well, let's see what artificial intelligence has to say.
Oh, good idea.
So when I uploaded a ton of information, I asked a question: what's the suitability for investigative genetic genealogy?
Mm-hmm.
And it's true that we don't have enough information to necessarily make a absolute assessment. This is what came back. Said this profile is not, and had not in capitals, suitable for IgG.
Mm-hmm.
Even aggressive IgG labs would reject this sample at intake. And summary in plain language: this DNA profile is too mixed. That's too mixed, too weak, and too unstable to be used for genetic genealogy.
There you go. There you go. Right there. That is perfect, because you gave it all the information, and the genius AI said there isn't enough. There's just not enough. Okay, not there yet. I don't know what you're talking about, says Trish. The Ramseys never wrote, no drafted that letter. what letter are we talking about? The ransom note? Does anybody know what not there yet is
Yes,
talking
it's.
about?
I believe it's about the ransom note.
Yes, they did.
And
I don't know what else I don't know what else can we
well,
say?
I do. It's like,
Okay.
so you would think if somebody was planning a kidnapping, that first of all, they would write the note ahead of time, not hope
Mm-hmm.
there was a pad of paper there and a pen, which was used from the house, supposedly. Also, if somebody was, what are the chances of an intruder and Patsy's handwriting having so many matches, being so
Yeah.
similar?
I don't even, again, I don't even know.
243 similarities.
There you go.
Yes. And the Q that looks like an 8, really?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I say.
Yeah, there you go. There's a Q
Oh,
that looks like an 8 right there.
yes.
I mean,
Oh, and the other thing on top of that is if there was an intruder, and since Patsy's handwriting has so many matches, why would she write a ransom note for an intruder?
there you go. Yeah.
Now I'm
If
done.
you, yeah, if you say there was an intruder and Patsy wrote the note, no, she didn't. She didn't write the note for an intruder. There was no intruder. Okay. She wrote the note to make it look like there was an intruder. And you know what? Not there yet. If we can't convince you with everything we've shown you, then there will never be any way to convince you, because somehow you have decided that they just couldn't have written that note. But yet we have shown you we haven't shown you all the evidence. We've barely scratched the evidence of the ransom note.
And take a look at that P. That doesn't
there you
get
go.
enough attention.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Are you talking about this
letter
one?
P.
Yeah, there's
just
two
above
P's.
the Q. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look
I've
at
never
the square.
seen a P written that way before.
Look at the square. That
I
should
bet
be
even Stacy doesn't write a P that way.
Right.
Stacey,
Yeah.
if you tell me you write a P like that, I'm in trouble.
No, I don't.
I mean, come on, guys. Look at this little O here above the other P. The O, it's got a little tail on the end of it. I mean, how could the intruder write that closely to Patsy Ramsey?
Well, I'll tell you a little piece of evidence that not a lot of people know about that explains that. Nidra Paw, Patsy's mother, and her sister Pam Paw both told the police in their interviews that that the handwriting did look like Patsy's, for sure. Especially her sister Pam Paw stated that yes, the ransom note looks like my sister wrote it. So much so that she believed that Priscilla White actually copied Patsy's writing, and that's why it looks so similar to Patsy's writing. I mean, that's how ridiculous it is.
So she tried to blame it on Priscilla White, Fleet White's wife, and say that Priscilla copied Patsy's writing. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that Nedra and Patsy's sister said, yeah, that does look like Patsy's, but Priscilla White must have copied her handwriting and then tried to make it look like her.
Right, right.
So I don't know what else to tell you. Not there yet. I thought you were kidding, that first comment you put up. I thought it was a joke. Because we've barely touched the surface on what is available in the ransom note. There's still a lot that is not available publicly. You guys, it is so beyond ridiculous to think that anybody other than Patsy wrote the note. And when you realize that, I'm telling you, all of this other evidence of the intruder, it all goes away. Every single bit of it. It doesn't solve the mystery of who killed JonBenet and what happened. It just shows you there was no intruder. Therefore, there are 3 people in that house tonight. We don't know what happened. But if we can just get it through to people that Patsy wrote the note, the intruder theory goes out the window, and then maybe people like Ashley Banfield will take their responsibilities more seriously and actually ask John Ramsey some tough questions. And Ashley, if you need a little help, we can write some up for you. We really can. And they'll be nice and polite, but don't let them get away with it. Be the Ashley Banfield that I saw on 9/11, that I adored and followed your career. because you were so amazing. Be that person. So anyway, the DNA. If Patsy wrote the note, the DNA doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. And again, there is no, it's not saliva, it's not blood, it's not, scratching under the fingernails. It is touch DNA, microscopic, and you can test a million other things. John's going on and on about the things that haven't been tested. Go ahead, test them. Test them. The DNA is not going to match anything. Okay, it's just not, because, and Cynic and Cottonstar, correct me if I'm wrong, it will probably be a combination of, and we've already proven that there's more than one profile that had to be in the basement that night, if you believe that it was an intruder DNA. Is that right, Cottonstar? Do I have that right?
I mean, yeah, I think Cynic's diagram on his video, I mean, really just shows what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why is so much, everyone just talks about, the UM1 profile like that's like that means, like, why does that hold any more weight than any of these other profiles that were found? I mean, really, it's indicative of what we have here. It is basically just what you're seeing is just the reason why. I mean, think about it. You have no other matching. Now, if you had UM1 was on the ligature, if UM1 was on the pink nightgown, if UM1 was on the other unidentified male pieces that Cynic shows up here, then yeah, you would perhaps have something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But why doesn't UM1 show up anywhere else other than that one spot? I mean,
right. There you go. Perfect. And that's beautiful. Cynic?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's absolutely true. And John Ramsey, as I've indicated, he continues to go on about, and so have a number of documentaries, essentially saying that you get this in the hands of a lab that does investigative genealogy, genetic genealogy, and the case is probably going to be solved that day or a matter of hours. And that's they have no idea, they have no concept of how bad the DNA is in this case.
Mm-hmm.
It's at a very low level. It's contaminated, degraded. It's mixed. There's just so many issues that it is just completely unsuitable for investigative genetic genealogy. And to suggest that somehow the Boulder PD or whoever in law enforcement is somehow keeping this from investigative genetic genealogy labs is about as preposterous as the stun gun theory is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, as I say, I just don't understand how you can even go and state something like that, because it's not as if the Boulder Police Department is unaware of what's out there technology-wise.
Right.
Sure that a number of labs have been approached other than law enforcement-based labs.
Mm-hmm.
Paragon, Othram, whoever, some of the more cutting-edge labs, I'm positive have been approached.
Mm-hmm.
And just as I indicated in that AI report on the DNA, it was probably rejected right from the get-go, right at intake, that this is just unsuitable. Sorry, we can't help you. And it's
exactly. I again, guys, I don't know what I mean. Look at this. Look at this. Unidentified male 1. Why is it just? It looks like it's right there on her. Is it under her fingernails?
Yeah, those are fingernails.
Yeah. Okay, so why isn't it anywhere else? Why that unidentified male 1 should be everywhere? Unidentified. Go ahead.
And keep in mind that in terms of the fingernails, as was noted in Steve Thomas's book, it's not as if there was blood and tissue under those fingernails.
No. Mm-mm. No, that's not what it is. Again, it's if you took clippings of my nails, you would find unidentified DNA. This is what this is, people. This is everyday DNA that is just on our crap. I mean, I can't make it any clearer than that. And believe me, I am not anywhere near understanding the DNA like Cynic and Cottonstar. But here's the thing. I would love to sit down with John Ramsey and say, well, can you explain this, Mr. Ramsey? You know, who are all these other people? Are you saying that there's an unidentified female and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's see, 1, 2, yeah, 5 males? Were they all down there that night? Who are they? You know, which one is which? Who's who? Which one has the handwriting that matches the ransom note? None of them. I wish, you know what? I wish they would test it all. I do. I wish they'd test it and find out who these people are. And I can guarantee you, not one of them, guarantee it, not one of them are going to be the intruder. It's just not going. And the thing is, you guys, and I'm not saying this to put myself down. I'm really not. But I am not a genius. I am not like this sharp as a tack person that catches everything. No. If I can get this, and again, I'm not trying to put myself down. If I can get this, then everybody should be able to get it. And the fact that John Ramsey has been able to control this narrative like he has is appalling. It is a dereliction of duty of the mainstream media that doesn't understand the case. You're not seeing John Ramsey sit down with Carol McKinley, with Nancy Grace, with any of the other people that understand the DNA. Okay? You don't see John Ramsey taking, you know, random questions all the time at CrimeCon. They shut it down after 1 or 2 because he can't answer them. And heaven forbid anybody got up there and asked him a tough question, they would get, you know, booted out of CrimeCon. Probably have the crap beat out of them. And again, that's a whole other thing. CrimeCon, I mean, I love CrimeCon. I think it's great. It's fun. I go every year. I'm just appalled at what they've allowed John Ramsey to do. And I'm just hoping, everybody, that at some point we can change the narrative to the truth. I'm not anti-Ramsey. Not at all. I'm pro-truth. And Patsy wrote the note. And I think we've shown it tonight with just the little bit of information we have. And there's a lot more out there. I'm going to go round table here. Cottonstar, final words, my dear.
Just, I mean, it's, you know, we're in the 30-year window. I mean, you know, next year at this time, 30 years is just, it's hard to think that it's been that long and we're still arguing about, you know, this and that and the other thing. I mean, it's crazy.
I don't even know what to say anymore. If I can't get somebody to see that Patsy wrote the note, again, I don't know what to say. And Cynic will let you have the final say.
Well, it concerns me what will happen a year from now.
I know, me too.
I hope that there's at least, well, I won't say, I'm just going to say it. I hope there's one. I won't hope for more than one documentary that at least is somewhat objective and not just shamelessly pro-Ramsey. But I guess I can hope. In terms of what I think we've shown tonight, I do think that it's clear that Patsy was the ransom note writer on basis of both handwriting and linguistics. The note was written, you know, on her notepad with her pen, and it was even returned to exactly, you know, where it came from. When JonBenet was found, we have to keep in mind she was wiped down, redressed, wrapped in a blanket like a papoose, as John Ramsey said, and next to her favorite nightgown. 8 different types of fibers from Patsy Ramsey's jacket, which she wore on the evening of December 25th, were on the sticky side of the duct tape used to cover JonBenet's mouth. And on that duct tape, there's no evidence of fighting. Like, it's not like the duct tape was put over somebody that was conscious. There's no no tongue impression. There's no indication that any struggle ensued by placing that duct tape over her mouth. Additionally, those fibers were on the wrist ligature neck ligature, and even vacuumed evidence from the paint tray and the wine cellar floor. And as we've mentioned, there are a lot of instances of conflicting and changing stories among John, Patsy, and Burke in various interviews, including formal interviews with law enforcement. Examples include whether JonBenet was awake upon returning home, as we touched on, how she came to be dressed in the outrageously large underwear, and how it was as she consumed pineapple within hours of her death.
When there was pineapple found in a bowl on the kitchen table. Hey, not there yet. I just got to bring up this one thing, because here's the thing. I want people to come and challenge us. So let's just look at this one final comment. And I know who they're talking about. John Ramsey's former employee was called in multiple times for handwriting analysis. Yeah. And what happened? Cynic, do you know what happened to that guy?
John Ramsey's former employee was called.
Employee, yeah.
Handwriting analysis. Well, yeah, it's a lot of people submitted handwriting, including more than once, but that's the thing. They were all cleared one way or the other, based either on that handwriting or handwriting plus other evidence that, that we can go to Dakar, people like that who you can't even prove that they were in the state, never mind the city.
Right.
Never mind the house. But there were people in the house whose handwriting was amazingly
close,
similar to the ransom notes. So, yeah.
Why is that hard to grasp? And again, if that former employee was called in multiple times for handwriting analysis, well, did it match? And what about his DNA? DNA, not. If believe me, if this guy was a suspect, it would have been everywhere. I think somebody is just trolling us, because it is so ridiculous to even try and suggest that an intruder wrote that note. And like I said, we're going by what's available publicly. We know there's a lot more that the Boulder police have. And I want to close with one final thought. I would like the Boulder police to grow a spine and come out and say they haven't cleared the Ramseys, and they still think Patsy wrote the note. They think Patsy wrote the note. They don't think, they know it. Why don't they come out and say it? What are they so afraid of? Let John Ramsey sue you. Okay, you got lawyers. Put him that way, he has to go under a deposition. See how he does. See how Burke does in a deposition. Come on, grow a pair or a spine. People, do it. This is ridiculous. I don't understand it. I know I'm going to go around one more time. Cottonstar, your final thoughts on that. And then I'll let Cynic have the final word.
I just really got nothing left to say for tonight. I mean, it's just, it's been a wild, almost 30 years. And, lost in all of this is JonBenet. She, the fact that, her life was taken almost 30 years ago, and she never got to, live the life that we, that she could have lived. So, it's incredibly sad.
It really is. And Cynic, final thoughts? Again?
I'll leave it with a quote from Greg McCrary,
okay.
Former FBI profiler. He said the following. Greg McCrary commented on these people, and I would include Lou Smith in this category. I think that the Ramseys couldn't have done it because they're good Christians, they're nice people, and so forth. This is the wrong way to go about an investigation, and this is a trap that people fall into sometimes. We want child killers, especially child killers, a heinous crime, to be different than you and I, and we're not comfortable when they're like us. We want them to be a hunchback and drool, one eye in the center of their forehead, and drag a leg behind them when they walk and all that. The reality is, though, that murders and child murders are committed by people who are otherwise very nice people, and we just don't want that to be true. And it's an unsettling thing, and sometimes people have trouble getting over it. but can't be what drives the investigation. The facts have to drive the investigation, and the theories have to emerge from the facts, and some preoccupation, or sorry, and not some preconception whether someone could do this or not do it. And I would add that it is even easier for good people to be involved in this type of crime, this is important, if it involves an accident, as it precludes motive or premeditation. The totality of the evidence must prevail in determining the solution to this case.
Thank you. Cynic, I can't thank you enough. Cottonstar, I can't thank you enough. Both of you gentlemen, you are great. You're great fighters for the truth, and you always have a place here on our live stream. Go get some rest, gentlemen. We'll see you again next year, probably before next year. Okay? So
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Good night.
Bye-bye. Oh, thank you, Lord, for those two guys. I would have gone so far off track. I was starting to spin, like I think you saw my eyes spinning like a
They're
slot
still
machine.
backstage if you want to bring them up. Do you want me to?
No, that's fine. Because I'm signing off. They need to get.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I know they're backstage. I just wanted us to talk for a second. Then we're signing off because I'm tired. I need to go to bed. But Stacy, what'd you think?
You did really good. I mean, of course,
Oh.
they did really good as always, but you did really good. You held it together.
Oh, thank you. I didn't
Yeah.
have a fit. I
No,
didn't have a
no
tantrum.
fits. No what? What is my sister used to do? The sizzling bacon. Do you remember that?
What's that?
It was like this old dance thing, not the worm, but you'd lay on the ground and like twitch, like you were
Yeah.
bacon sizzling in the
Oh.
pan.
I haven't done that for at least 2 or 3 months. And this couch is perfect for me to do my sizzling bacon.